Good sunny day, everyone. It's me, your friendly intergalactic sun prince of the sun, Enyou Solaris to Moshimas. You can also call me Solaris or Soul. Today we are reading episode 2 of my original light novel, Dead Spy Road Trip. If you want to see if you are watching this as a VOD and want to see episode 1 first, check the description. And also check the description for like timestamps to the other parts. But we're just gonna get right into it right now. So yeah, we're just gonna jump right into it, and we'll just start chapter 1, and I will try to save the yapping for later on. But this is Dead Spy Road Trip episode 2. If you need a refresher, guess what's happening? That's what I wrote. But let's just get into it. Cowboy John and Princess Elise finally make their way to the castle, but something sinister is waiting for them there. That's like a blurb from Medium.com. Word count 12,687, so a bit longer than episode 1. Story by yours truly, Enyou Solaris. Key art by Cigar Charlotte. Logo by Entrant Artist, and then content warning: blood, gore, death, guns, swearing, and suggestive themes. Like, this is where the suggestive themes are. I think I put that in the last one too, but there was not. Whatever, you get the idea. Again, remember how I said I was not going to ramble this time? That's not happening. And then here's episode 1. This text version will be linked in the description if you want to read that. But let's just go for it. Let me make sure that I can effing see. Okay. Recap. Mercenary John Doe took a simple kidnapping mission, but everything got flipped on its head when he met the person he was supposed to be kidnapping, the Princess Elise. They somehow ended up working together to defeat bandits and get Elise to her kingdom in one piece. After blowing up the main fortress of the bandits, John and Elise had a straight shot to the kingdom. The only thing left to do was for John to drop the princess off and collect the reward money. Or so he thought. Again, we'll talk later. We're getting to the chapter right now. We'll get into it right now. So yeah, that's what happened. And I wrote, okay, I just quickly, because we haven't actually started the chapter yet. I was hesitant on writing a recap because I didn't want to spoil things. Of like, hey, this information is going to be relevant in this episode, because there's some recaps that can spoil what's going to happen in the episode, but I think I did a pretty good job of not spoiling things too much. Anyway, I'm locking in. Chapter 5, The Drop-Off. Come on, let's get going. We're almost there. Sorry, wrong voice. Come on, let's get going. We're almost there. The impatient princess poked the back of the cowboy's head, her hair curls bobbing up and down with anticipation. Yeah, I'm going. Don't want to keep Princess Elise von Newingdom waiting any longer, the cowboy sighed. Exactly, Mr. John Doe, Elise proudly proclaimed, missing the underlying sarcastic tone in John's voice, as per usual. After a long 2-day perilous journey, the two had somehow survived and made their way back to Elise's kingdom. That alone was enough to make them happy, but each had their own separate reasons to be glad. John was happy to finally be done with his escort mission, and Elise was happy to be home safe and sound. However, the two will soon learn that they couldn't rest easy just yet. Regardless, the two on John's motorcycle made their way down the cliff. They were chatting... Hold on. They were chatting on and... Regardless, the two on John's motorcycle made their way down the cliff they were chatting on and into the valley that the humble kingdom sat in. The kingdom itself was smaller than John was expecting, only having a few dozen farmhouses and the castle complex itself being a third of the total land. Taking all this in, there were probably less than 150 people living there total. John was worried that the ransom money for this job would be less than he planned, but he was here anyway, so he might as well finish the job. Listen, I know it's not much, but we do a lot with what we have, Elise chimed in, noticing the worried look on the cowboy's face as they stopped at the outskirts of town. I'm just worried that this whole rescue mission might have been a big waste of my time. Well, she pouted, if reward money is all you care about, I'll have you know we are quite well off. Despite our size, we make a lot of money from exports and trading. Plus, the valley gives us natural defenses from bandits like yourself. That last point at least was obviously true. The two had to take some pretty narrow roads to get near the kingdom. This was no problem for a bike, but bringing any bigger of a force would have been impossible. Let's just hurry up, John sighed as the two made their way into the town and towards the large castle in the center. But before long, they were interrupted yet again. Hey, Princess Elise, you're finally back, I see. An old farmer looked up from his crops as the two were passing by. John tried to ignore him, but a tight curve made him slow down enough for the princess to jump off absent-mindedly and greet the old man. Hello there, Bobberson. My most recent mission took a little longer than expected, but thankfully I did make it back in one piece, Elise said, oddly cheerfully. She had been serious business up until now, but apparently she was quite friendly with the members of her community. Well, I'm glad you're safe. I was starting to get worried. Oh, by the way, did your wife have that baby yet? Not yet, but any day now. Oh, yay. Let me know as soon as possible so I can give the newest member of our kingdom a royal welcome. Will do, the old man smiled. As Elise leaned over a fence and had this casual conversation, this annoyed John. He turned his bike around and went over. Hey, let's get going. We don't have all day. The sun is starting to go down. Who's your friend there? Here, the farmer asked, ignoring the cowboy's statement. Oh, him? He's John Doe, Elise replied, also ignoring the demand to leave. He may look scary, but if it wasn't for him, I don't think I could have made it back. Well, then he has my gratitude. That's fantastic, but we gotta go. John got off his bike and started gesturing to Elise to get back on track. Yeah, she rolled her eyes as she got back on the bike. We gotta go, but let's catch up later. Sure thing, take care, the friendly farmer waved as the two drove away. Well, I thought you were all snooty, but it turns out the princess can be friendly after all, John remarked. I thought I fixed all of this. Well, obviously I would be nicer to them than a random thug, she pouted. I've known most of these people... Hold on. I did fix it. I've known most of these people for my entire life. It's obvious that I would get along with them. I guess. John was still a little thrown off from how unusual this whole kingdom was. It gave him a feeling of security and trust that he had not known for a long time. It almost felt like he was back at... He shook off these difficult thoughts as the two finally arrived at the castle entrance. Before a large set of doors stood a single guard wielding a spear. Halt! Who goes there? Quit fooling around, it's just me, Tony. Elise got off the bike and greeted the guard. But who is this ruffian with you? He's my escort. Don't worry, he's cool. Even still, all guests need official approval from the king. Okay, fine, we can do things all proper-like. The princess rolled her eyes and turned back towards John. Give me a minute, let me talk to my dad, then we can get you an official audience. That's fine, as long as I get my reward money. Elise gave John a thumbs up as the guard opened the doors and let her inside. A few minutes had... I need a drink. A few minutes had passed, but there was still no sign of Elise. Perhaps I should just shoot my way in. This guy doesn't look all that tough. John looked up and down the meek guard and started plotting an evil scheme, but before he could do anything, the front doors finally opened. Sorry about the wait, that took longer than expected, Elise returned to John with a nervous smile. Don't worry about it, let's just go. Certainly. Elise led John inside the large double doors. Inside was a large entrance hall with people coming and going from corridors and doorways leading in every direction. The hustle and bustle of the castle melted into white noise. But the main focus for now was the large set of stairs that sat in the middle of the room. At the top was another set of large double doors. This time, these opened up to a large hall, at the end of which were two intimidating thrones that sat what was obviously the king and queen. Next to them was a hooded figure. John couldn't see their face, but he assumed they were some sort of royal advisor. Hello again, Mom and Dad, Elise politely bowed. This was the escort I was telling you about. Well, he certainly is how you described him, the king remarked, slightly slouched over in his chair. Don't you think, dear? He looks just like any other lowlife. The queen's demeanor was noticeably colder than the king's, and she had a very serious look on her face. But John didn't care about any pleasantries. I don't care what either of you think of me. I got your precious daughter back. Just give me my reward money so I can get out of your hair. Is that what you think? The king and queen glared at him. What are you babbling on about now? John got no response as the queen gave a wave towards the hooded advisor. Elise, what's going on? He turned to the girl next to him for answers, but she avoided eye contact and held her head toward the ground, her bangs hiding her expression. I'm sorry, Mr. John, she said in a blank tone of voice. All of a sudden, a set of large, thick cables shot up from the ground, surrounding John on all sides. He made a move for his knife to defend himself, but he wasn't fast enough. The cables stretched and wiggled on their own and wrapped themselves around John, dragging him down to the ground. What's the meaning of this? This wasn't part of the plan, John screamed in anger towards the princess, who was still not acknowledging him. You are a person of interest. We can't just leave you as is, a sinister voice spoke out. Wait a minute, that voice! John strained to lift his head off the ground and looked up to see the hooded figure slowly walking towards him. The man lowered his hood to show his face. Between his short silver hair and dark gleam in his ruby-colored eyes, behind his sharp glasses, John could immediately recognize who it was. Urayama! John screamed with a deep hatred in his voice. So this is where you've been hiding, you rat! Long time no see, my friend, the hooded man said with a calm smile in his voice. You go by John Doe now? Not very original, but fitting nonetheless. Damn you, what are you plotting this time? Whatever could you mean? I am simply just doing my job as the royal advisor of New Wingdom. You possess a very dangerous ability in your arm. It is a danger not just to this community, but to all communities everywhere. You bastard! John knew that everything that was coming out of Urayama's mouth was nothing but lies. John focused his energy toward the tattoo in his arm, and the dark shadow of a bird came creeping out, stretching and bending the cables holding him down. But before he could break free, Urayama hit a button on the device on his wrist, and the cables let out a powerful electric current. This caused John to lose focus, and the bird retreated back into tattoo form. Damn you, John said just as the shock hit him and he lost consciousness. See, I told you I could lock in. I told you I could lock in. I gotta take a breather though. If you're watching the VOD, use the fucking timestamps in the description to go to the next part. I'm out of practice, even though I just did it like a month ago. But I definitely did it better than last time. Me when my name is Bobberson, I know, I had a lot of fun with the names. I mean, obviously with Elise being Elise von Newingdom, and the kingdom being Newingdom Kingdom. That's really dumb. Just did in fact lock in. You can have a physical form, I suppose, in between chapters. And then the farmer was named Bobberson. Listen, it's partly me being really bad with names, but maybe there's an in-universe reason that there's all these names are bad. And then there's just Tony. I feel like Tony is just the guy. It's just for that quote. Quit fooling around. It's just me, Tony. Gasp! I know, right? They went to the castle and they ran into somebody that John knew. Urayama? Who's this Urayama guy? Surely he's not the main antagonist. He's working with Elise's kingdom. He can't be a bad guy. I don't know what John is talking about. I figured it was gonna get weird in the castle. Yeah, we're gonna be in the castle for the entirety of this episode, I think. But like, that's part of an action adventure, is that you go to a new place and then like you explore and meet everyone in that new place and like you do all that stuff. That's how it works. Oh my gosh, why is today the one day that it has to get super effing hot? I thought I was gonna explain something, but I don't think I have to. I think that's a spoiler. But yeah, the recap was just like, hey, they met up and then they gotta go to the castle. And like, yeah, I think for now that's a good recap. Just because like that's episode 1 was just kind of introducing the characters, and then I also kind of reintroduced the characters here, where the impatient princess and then the cowboy, kind of reintroducing their personalities. Anyway, next episode, we're gonna pull a Sonic adventure and go back in time and see the events from a different character's perspective. Last time we got a Sonic Heroes reference. I have too much influence of Sonic. I'm sorry. Goodbye again, chat. I'll see you in a bit. Also, I have the chapters going sequentially. So if you're wondering where chapter 1 to 4 was, that was in episode 1. So I just have them. So it's a little bit weird. Episode 2, chapter 5, but whatever. The episodes and the chapters are counting up independently from each other. Don't worry about it. It's what I wanted to do. It's my story and I could do what I want. Anyway, chapter 6, the princess becomes a spy. A few minutes earlier. Give me a minute to let me talk to my dad and then we can get you an official audience. That's fine, as long as I get my reward money. Elise gave John a thumbs up and the guard opened the doors and let her inside the castle. She quickly made her way up the large staircase and in the main hall and headed into the throne room, where the king and queen were waiting. Hey, Mom and Dad, sorry I'm late, the princess nervously laughed. Where have you been, young lady? The queen retorted. Anyway, I'm just glad you're safe, the king sighed. Sorry, I kinda got kidnapped a little bit. The queen sighed at her lackadaisical response. I thought we taught you better than that. Don't worry about it so much, Mom. I was saved by someone named John Doe. John Doe? The queen questioned this strange name. Yeah, he's a cowboy with cool powers. He was the one who made sure I made it home in one piece, Elise excitedly explained. Actually, he's right outside waiting for his reward money for that job. With a nervous smile still on her face, Elise tried to explain the situation to her annoyed parents, but before the conversation could proceed any further, a cowboy with cool powers, you said? A hooded figure standing off to the side interrupted. Oh, hello, Urayama. Elise rolled her eyes. Even though Urayama had been an advisor to her parents for a few years now, the princess never really liked him all that much. Perhaps it was just how quickly he rose to that position and shoved himself into her life. However, he was here now, and there was nothing she could do. She had to just take her parents' word that his skills were worth the title of royal advisor. This man's powers didn't happen to involve a shadowy bird, did they? Urayama questioned. Yeah, actually. How did you know? Urayama ignored the question and started to address the queen. Your Highness, based on my research, this man and his powers are very dangerous. It is likely that he poses a significant threat to your kingdom. Excuse me? Elise chimed in. Were you not just listening to what I said? That cowboy and his bird are the only reason I'm alive. Quiet, Elise, the queen demanded. You don't know this man. What if he only saved you to get inside the kingdom and destroy it? He wouldn't do that, Elise tried to retort, but deep down she knew that there was always a possibility that John could double-cross her. This man is to be eliminated right away. The queen wasn't listening to any of Elise's arguments. Your Highness, Urayama chimed in, I think it would be best to keep him alive so we can figure out exactly what his powers are. I have a plan for how we can capture him without harm to your kingdom. You have a good point. The queen looked over at the king for his support and got a soft nod. I approve of your plan. Hello? Isn't there someone else who needs to approve? The queen has made her decision. Urayama continued ignoring Elise's questions. You said that this John guy was waiting outside, right? Yeah, she pouted. Tell him his reward money is ready and lend him... Tell him that his reward money is ready and lead him to the spot marked on the floor. Elise didn't like anything about this whole plan. She looked imploringly at her parents, making a face that asked if all this was really necessary, to which she got a stern nod out of both of them. I'll be right back, the young princess sighed as she turned to leave the room. As she made her way down the stairs and back outside, she thought of telling John about the plan so he could just run away. She didn't want to trick him after he saved her life so many times. However, she knew that what her mom said had some merit. At the end of the day, John is still just a bandit looking for some money. If what Urayama said is true, and that John's bird power is more powerful than what he is letting on, then threatening the whole kingdom would be worth more than a simple ransom. She had no other choice. Sorry about the wait, that took longer than expected, Elise returned to John with a nervous smile. Don't worry about it, let's just go. Certainly. The two made their way inside the castle and into the throne room as the scene played out exactly as Elise expected. John was caught off guard and Urayama's trap went off without issue. What wasn't expected was John's reaction to seeing Urayama. Sure, he was mad, who wouldn't be after being double-crossed like that? But it was more than just that. It had seemed like the two knew each other beforehand. In addition, it wasn't just anger coming out of John. Elise could see that there was a tinge of sadness in the cowboy's eyes when he saw Urayama. That was odd. After Urayama left the room with John and the guards that took him away, Elise was left confused in the throne room with her parents. What do you mean, Elise? Her father asked kindly. I mean, I don't think that was the reaction of someone who was planning on destroying the kingdom. He looked pretty upset. Of course he was upset, the queen responded, ignoring the first part of her statement. He thought his plan was going to go off without a hitch, but we were one step ahead. Is without a hitch a saying, I guess? Focusing, locking in. But Elise tried to retort, but knew that she wasn't going to get through to her stubborn mother. Don't worry about him anymore, Elise. Her dad could sense the tension in the room and tried to change the subject. More importantly, about your sister. Oh yeah, Elise perked up. I heard that One-sama was back. Where is she? Well, unfortunately, she apparently didn't stay for long. According to the guard out front, she just left a letter addressed to you and left. The king left his seat and handed a rolled-up piece of parchment paper to Elise. The young princess looked visibly disappointed, but had a glimmer of hope that the letter would explain everything. She took the paper from her father and unrolled the letter. The only thing written on the single piece of paper was, Dear Elise, don't come looking for me. I see. Hope once again left the young girl's eyes. She didn't fully understand the meaning behind the note. Was her sister trying to protect her, or did she simply not care about her anymore? Either way, one thing was obvious. Her sister was not around anymore. I'm going to retreat to my room. She rolled up the letter and made her way out of the room. Her parents didn't say anything. There was nothing they could say at this point. Scene change. While I take a quick water break. Elise had finally made her way into her bedroom after a long trip. She immediately changed into more comfortable clothes and collapsed on her bed in a shape, in a oki shape. She was happy that her kidnapping escapade was over, but she couldn't shake the uncomfortable feeling that the most recent events left her with. These things just don't add up. Why did Urayama want to get rid of John so bad? Why were her parents so quick to agree with him? Why did John react the way he did? Is John really that dangerous of a person? Where did my sister go? Why is no one telling me the answer to any of these questions? As she laid on her bed, staring at the ceiling, all these thoughts kept circling in her head to the point where she felt dizzy. Okay, that's it, she said out loud and shot up from the bed. If people aren't going to be honest with me, then I guess it's time for the princess to do a little spying of her own. Okay, I'm still alive. Elise got a mischievous grin on her face and left the room. With her parents not willing to give any more information, the only lead she had left was to question Urayama. The two of them never had the greatest of relationships, but that was mostly on part of Elise not trusting him. I still don't like that guy, especially after seeing John's reaction upon seeing him. But if anyone knew more about this whole bird thing, it would be him. Perhaps I could try playing nice and use my effeminate wiles to get some information out of him. After all, the first rule of being spy is deception. It was a very shallow and underhanded idea that Elise had, but desperate times call for desperate measures. If she wanted to learn more, that was the only option she had left. I guess I do use a lot of, sayings, whatever these things are called. Elise made her way into Urayama's study and mentally prepared herself as she stood in front of the door. She pulled down the front of her loose casual shirt to reveal a bit more of her chest, put on a cute smile, and knocked on the door before entering the office. Hey there, mind if I come in? Oh, Elise, sure, come on in. Urayama was a bit surprised at her friendly tone. Do you need anything? Oh, nothing in particular. I just wanted to chat. That's odd. I thought you didn't like me. I'm debating if I want Urayama to be British or not. I'm working on my voices in real time, don't worry. Urayama immediately brought that up, but Elise was ready. Oh, never, teehee. She laughed timidly. I think we just got off on the wrong foot. With how quickly you rose to the rank of royal advisor, I just had a hard time trusting you. But that's all water under the bridge. After seeing how quickly you handled that dangerous man, I can understand what my parents see in you, and I hope that we can be friends. I see, me too, he said in a monotone voice, probably a little suspicious of her sudden change of heart. Are you sure you didn't have any sort of attachment to that man? That's a silly question, of course not. Sure, he saved me from my original kidnappers, but you're right, he was probably planning something sinister. Yes, indeed. Elise still wasn't sure if Urayama bought her story, but she decided to go on the offensive. She walked over to his desk and leaned over his shoulder to see the computer monitor he was working on, making sure her chest was at eye level. What are you looking at? Anything related to that bird thing? He responded with a strong defense, closing the relevant windows on his computer and casually pushing his chair away from the desk. Nothing that a young princess needs to be worried about. Oh, come on, I've never seen anything like that before. I'm so curious. She casually leaned her back against the desk, putting her hands behind her and pushing her chest out. Well, the only thing I can tell you is that that bird that John guy has exceeds our scientific understanding. Ooh, what does that mean? I'm sorry, but I can't tell you anymore. Now, if you don't mind, I need to get back to work. Urayama got out of his chair and gestured towards the door. Fine, but let's talk more later, okay? She winked and left the room with the door closing behind her. I guess that's okay. I don't want to risk pushing too hard and causing any more suspicion. I think my act worked out fine because... Making sure that the door behind her was fully closed, she brought her arms back in front of her and opened her hand. A small keycard labeled Main Laboratory laid in her palm. I've got all the answers I could need right here. Okay, I need a drink. Let's see if there's any reactions. Oh my god! She said the thing! She said the thing! Would you blah 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 blah? I can't speak anymore, I'm sorry. I should make these really shorter. I try to keep it under 10,000 words because I think that's a good length. But, you know how it goes. Aside of kidnapping, he was just a kidnapper. Don't worry about it. No shot he bought that. Who bought what? See, I can't see when people said things. And I obviously have no memory span to speak of at all. Do I do that in real life too? I was talking about I somewhat crashed out. Did not lock in because I was talking about how I use sayings a lot. Desperate times call for desperate measures. We got off on the wrong foot. All water under the bridge. Stuff like that. Do I use those too often? Now that I notice it, do I use those in real life too? Is that just a speech quirk that I have? Urayama buying her fake enthusiasm. You are correct to be, your line of thinking is playing into exactly what I wanted you to think. I will not say any more than that. I heard that's an autism trait. Oh no! Not to diagnose you or anything. But, I think using a lot of sayings like that might be an autism trait. You see, that's the important thing. That's why writing is so cool. It can reveal parts about yourself that you would not know otherwise. So I'm like, oh hey, I guess I do say stuff like that a lot in real life now that I see it in writing. So I can be a little bit more introspective, and also bigger things. Like I was reading an old fan fiction I wrote like years ago, and I'm like, This is just a trans metaphor. What the fuck? I should have fudging known at this point. What the hell? Excuse you? What did the writing side of my brain know that the other side didn't? And why aren't they not communicating? Okay. Next chapter. Goodbye, chat. I'll be right back. Hold on 1 second. Okay, I'm alive. I might need to refill my water. I can do normal streams for like 6 hours at a time, but 30 minutes of reading that's when it kills my throat. It's me doing voices too. Okay. Chapter 7, Uncovering the Truth. Later that night, the young princess was sneaking around the back halls of the castle. As she approached an out-of-place metallic door, a chirping sound came from it, and it started to open. She jumped back and ducked behind a corner at the end of the hall as she saw two guys walking out. I managed to sneak that key off his desk, but actually going in there is a whole other level of spyness I'm not sure I'm ready for. Elise took a big nervous gulp. There really was no other option. Her parents weren't telling her anything, she couldn't get any info out of Urayama, and her last option was to break into the secret lab Urayama built in the basement of the castle. Ever since that, that's a big sentence. That's a big paragraph. Ever since that advisor came to the castle, that research laboratory had been strictly off limits to the princess and anyone else who was not directly involved. The only thing she knew about it was that it was for researching and implementing technology from outside the kingdom. Even her parents weren't entirely sure what goes on there, but they trust him enough to believe whatever he's doing is for the benefit of the kingdom. But Elise didn't trust Urayama from the beginning, and she always wanted to see what was inside there. Perhaps her whole investigation scheme was just an excuse to finally break in. Either way, she had a mountain of questions after everything that had happened that day, and the only way to get answers was to go through that door. What was that noise? Oh, that was the AC turning on. The young princess turned spy, steeled her resolve, and after the two men walked out of sight, she approached the door. It had no visible lock or even a handle, but there was a mysterious panel where the door handle should be. Figuring it was worth a shot, the princess took the key card and placed it on the panel. To her surprise, that worked! The panel turned green and the door slid open, retreating into the wall. She took quiet and slow steps as she made her way down the newly revealed staircase. After a few minutes in the dark hall, After a few minutes, the dark downwards hallway opened up into a large room lined with desks, much like an office building. Whoa, I know Urayama brought some of his people with him to assist in his research, but I never guessed it was this big of an operation. Is all of this really just to research outside technology? As she walked by and scanned the various desks filled with paperwork, one keyword in particular stood out to her. Elemental bird. I'm assuming that is talking about the... I assume that's talking about the bird John has, but why call it elemental and not just like dark or shadowy or something? As her search brought her more questions than answers, she noticed a large steel door tucked away in the corner of the room. The door had its own set of locks and bolts to seal it off from the rest of the already secret and exclusive lab. Whatever was in there was clearly important enough to lock it away from almost everyone in the castle. Elise looked at the key card in her hand again and hoped that, because she took it off of the leader's desk, it would even open this door. She anxiously placed the card on the terminal next to the big steel door and waited. To her relief, the panel turned green and the large door creaked open and let her inside. Unlike the door at the top of the stairs, this door didn't close behind her, so she had to do so manually to make sure she wasn't leaving behind any trace that she was there. After closing the door, she surveyed the room. It was a relatively small room. Some filing cabinets lined one side of the narrow space, and a row of chairs with computer terminals lined to the other side. but the main draw of the room was above the terminals. There was a thick sheet of bulletproof glass giving view into a much larger room on the other side. What is that? At the center of this larger room sat something the princess couldn't process at first, but after a moment she recognized it. It was bright yellow and lit up the room around it. There were small electric discharges coming off of its small figure. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Is that what I think it is? After getting a good look at it, Elise could tell that this small ball of yellow electricity was in the shape of a small falcon. The bird that was held up in this top secret laboratory looked very similar to John's bird. Instead of a shadowy eagle, it was an electric falcon. But it was the same idea. Now the phrase elemental bird made sense. I wonder just how many of these birds are there? Before Elise could wrap her head around all this, she heard the sound of the big metal door behind her opening. With that being the only exit from this place, she quickly hid behind one of the filing cabinets and could hear two men enter. Tell me how the tests are progressing. Well, your theory is correct, however... She could recognize Urayama's voice, but the person responding to him was unfamiliar, probably one of his lackeys. She carefully peeked out from her hiding spot and saw the lackey press some keys on one of the terminals. Just then, the other room started to flash a bright yellow light, and animalistic cries of pain could be heard. As you can see, the results are unstable. The power it receives is uncontrollable, not to mention the immense harm that it causes the bird itself. I don't care, snapped back Urayama to his lackey's explanation. I just want to know how far we can push these elemental birds, regardless of the safety of the kingdom or anyone involved. Now, in the morning, you are to bring John up here and ramp up testing. Right away, sir. The two then turned off the machine and left the room. After the coast was clear, Elise came out from hiding. I knew it! That guy is not interested in helping my kingdom at all. He just wants to use our resources to further his own twisted experiments. After seeing his laboratory and demeanor when no one was looking, Elise now knew the true nature of Urayama. A dirty rat. I think I called him a rat earlier. She looked through the glass to see the bird exhausted on the ground and wincing in pain. If I don't do something soon, even more people are going to be hurt. Before leaving the room, Elise vowed to herself that she was going to find a way to save that bird somehow. The princess turned away from the bird and made her way out of the secret underground laboratory. There wasn't much she could do, but she knew that there was at least one person she could help right now. Oh, but first I should get changed. This one chapter has like 3 scenes in it. I guess I guess my logic was like, hey, let's break the chapter at emotional beats, not story beats. Anyway, I'm not breaking the fourth wall. You're breaking the fourth wall. John sat alone at a dark, cold prison cell. The walls were made out of thick metal. Not even his supernatural bird powers could do anything against the fortified walls. Nothing that he could do would even get him close to getting out of that place. He knew that Urayama was up to no good, but there was nothing he could do now, other than curse the mad scientist's name. So he sat. All of a sudden, a loud beep could be heard from somewhere, and one of the walls slid open, revealing a familiar face. There, now we're even. There stood a young woman, and with her short blonde curls and poofy red skirt flowing in the new breeze that was coming in from outside of the cell. What are you doing here? Isn't it obvious? I'm here to break you out of this place. And why should I believe anything that you have to say? You were the one who put me here in the first place. John went back to moping in the corner of the room while Elise looked visibly guilty. He was right after all. I'm sorry for deceiving you earlier. Urayama duped both of us. I know now that he is nothing but trouble. Nothing but trouble, also saying. John looked over at Elise, trying to explain herself, but he wasn't buying it. Listen, Urayama has a bird just like yours in the basement of the castle. I think he's planning on using both it and you to do some sort of dangerous test. A bird just like mine? What do you mean? It's like your shadowy bird tattoo, except it's made of electricity and not a tattoo. John had heard rumors of other types of birds similar to the one he had, but just chalked it up to folktale. It was hard to believe that it was true, but that would be a very strange and specific thing to lie about, so he had a good reason to trust her. Yeah, that does sound like something that man would do. Besides, I feel bad for deceiving you earlier. I don't think you're such a bad guy after all, so I want to make it up to you. John turned around to face Elise. Her eyes had genuine remorse in them. With everything she said, he now had no reason to doubt her. He stood up. So, what's the plan now? Well, it sounds like you're important for Urayama's plans, so getting you as far away from here as soon as possible would be the best course of action, I think. And besides, I owe you a rescue for all the times you rescued me. John scoffed at Elise's comment. You really think rescuing me from yourself makes up for all the times I saved you? Elise got a bit red. John had a good point. Well, maybe not exactly, but come on, let's go. Elise looked up and saw John already out of the cell and past her. Okay, follow me. I know the layout of this place like the back of my hand. She shook off her embarrassment and ran ahead of John as the two made their way through the halls of the castle. Why did I put a chapter ending here? Oh yeah, I remember now. After a few minutes of sneaking around, they finally made it back to the back door of the castle. Freedom is just one step away, Mr. John, Elise proclaimed. The two pushed through the double doors and found themselves in a dimly lit courtyard. The only thing giving them any visibility was the glow of the castle windows and the full moon in the night sky. The exit at the back of the castle garden was just a few dozen meters ahead of them. However, they saw the outline of a figure standing in the middle of the courtyard. Well, it took you long enough. Urayama stood calmly in between them and the back exit of the castle. Dun dun dun! Okay, you know, my whole voice dying that's not helping my whole voice dying situation going on here. What was the title? What was the title of this chapter? Uncovering the Truth. Okay. But yeah, I could have ended it several points, but I wanted to end it at this plot twist. So, sue me. They had Zapdos. The girl's gonna end up in a test tube. I know, everything went a little very conveniently well for Elise there. I wonder why that is. It surely has nothing to do with why Urayama is standing there right in their escape route. I don't know about that one. They got Zapdos. I'm sure if you know a lot about anime tropes and thought about it for more than 5 seconds, you probably could have figured that there were more. Also, the way that I worded like Darkness Bird, I'm sure you could figure out that there was more than just one bird. There's at least two. But don't worry, there's still more. Oh my gosh, there's still more. I told you, I was not lying in the title of this stream that you are not ready for all these plot twists. Because so far, at least two birds. Again, if you know anime tropes, you might have a decent guess of exactly how many number of birds there are. But hey, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. That's not important right now. That's not important right now. Maybe by chapter 10 it will be important. I know, I also just have to be careful about how I casually say things. Because even saying there's at least two birds. Actually, that's not that much of a spoiler. Pet. This is still like halfway through. I forgot that the final battle in the epilogue is like half the chapter, is like half the episode. Okay. Meow meow meow. I just gotta do some stemming real fast. Meow 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 meow. Okay, we're good to go. I've also not been looking at Twitch chat. Wow, there's nothing in Twitch chat except for bot. Okay. Okay. Chapter 8, The Final Battle. Urayama, you bastard! Jana looked back toward Elise. Was this all part of a trap? No, I promise, she blurted out. As far as I know, he knew nothing of me breaking you out. She is correct. This was all my doing, Urayama calmly stated as he pressed up on his glasses with an evil grin on his face. Elise is too noisy for her own good. It was only a matter of time before she found out about my plans anyway, so I purposely led her down the path to find out about my experiments on the elemental birds. Elise was in complete shock after hearing this. I don't need my headphones on. I just realized there's no audio coming out of them. Elise was in complete shock after hearing this. Now I can hear my own voice. She thought that breaking into Urayama's lab, finding out about that bird made of lightning, and breaking John out was all her own skill. She thought for once she was being helpful to those around her, but it was all part of Urayama's plans. But why? Elise managed to blurt out in confusion. Because I knew that after finding the Thunderbird, you would feel bad and want to save John. That action put you here in the dead of night, out of sight of any witnesses. Now I can finally dispose of you. You're planning to kill me? If you have to put it that bluntly, yes. I need to continue my research in peace without you getting in my way. It's for the greater good, don't you see? Urayama's evil grin grew larger. But since you have been so cooperative until now, I will let you choose how I tell your parents you died. Fighting valiantly against intruders, saving a small child from a fire, it's up to you. You bastard! Didn't I just say that? Yeah. John's gotta get some new insults. You bastard! John had finally had enough. He pulled out his knife and gun and aimed them at the silver-haired villain. If you think you can get away with that in front of me again, well, you have another thing coming. What do you mean, again? Elise, still in shock, managed to pick up on John's wording. Remember how I told you that my family died? John gritted his teeth. They didn't just die. They were murdered. Murdered by him. Elise let out a gasp, but Urayama was unfazed. That was a long time ago. Don't you ever let anything go? And besides, their deaths were the reason you got your fancy bird powers anyway, so I think it balanced itself out. Shut up! John finally snapped. I swore that day I would kill you no matter what, and tonight seems like as good as of time. Bleh. I swore that day that I would kill you no matter what, and tonight seems like as good of a time as any. Is that so? Urayama sighed. Unfortunately for you, I have no intention of fighting you right now. Urayama pushed a button on his wrist and a floor tile rose out of the ground. What the? I also feel like I say this a lot. That's also something that Sonic does. Out of the ground came a small glass tube holding inside it a bright yellow falcon. That's the bird I saw in his lab, Elise shouted out. What are you planning on doing with that? I'm a man who loves efficiency, so I thought I would test the limits of this Thunderbird while I kill you. 2 birds with 1 stone, or should I say, 1 bird and 1 princess. That time I did it intentionally. Urayama hit another button on his wrist, and the glass tube started to glow, and the bird inside cried out in pain. You see, this bird is made up of electricity, so what do you think would happen if I pumped him full of the stuff? Damn you, John's anger continued to build. Don't you think you've hurt enough people already? I keep telling you, it's all for the greater good. During this, the bird inside the tube began to grow, pushing against the glass walls until they shattered. But the bird kept getting pumped full of energy until he towered over John and Elise. In a blind rage, the bird let out a loud screech. Caw! The bird did not even notice the man with the ruby eyes behind it. Its rage was solely focused on the cowboy and princess. The large yellow bird flew towards them. John quickly summoned his own bird, and a large dark talon grabbed the beak of the Thunderbird and slammed it down to the ground. After several snaps of lightning, the other bird managed to free itself of the grab and bring itself to its feet. Looks like we won't be getting past this thing without taking it out first, John scoffed. Elise, you stay back and let me handle this. No way, mister, she spouted back. The only way we're going to make it out of this alive is if we work together, like we did back at the fortress. Pet! John looked back at the large bird in front of them. With an exhausted look on his face, he sighed, then looked back toward Elise. Do you remember the first rule of being a spy? Deception, she smirked back. Any water in my writing is really good. In the middle of their conversation, the Thunderbird opened its beak and let out a bolt of lightning at the two. Even though the bolt was as fast as you would expect lightning to go, they saw the bird charge up and jumped apart to dodge the blast. John ran to the side of the bird and started shooting at it, while avoiding the occasional lightning blasts. The bullets didn't do much to the bird, but anger it. More importantly, the shots to it kept its focus on John, and the bird didn't notice the princess behind it. Elise knew what the plan was from the moment John jumped to the side. He was counting on her he was counting. I'm getting worse as we go on, which is not good. Elise knew what the plan was from the moment John jumped to the side. He was counting on another surprise attack from the back, just like how they took down Rose at the bandit fortress. This time, she did not announce her attack. She readied her sword behind her back, like a serve in tennis. Elise had a clear shot for the back of the bird's neck, but didn't want to do accidental lethal damage again. My throat. So she decided to aim for the base of the bird's wing. Hee-yah! With everything she had, she brought her sword down while lowering the power level of the magnet. A large piece of her sword went flying towards the bird, hitting it square in the wing. It cried out in pain and fell to the ground. John didn't waste any time and summoned his own bird as dark talons pinned the Thunderbird in place. Nice! Elise joyfully yelled out from the other side of the bird. John couldn't help but to admit to himself that the princess was more reliable than he thought. With her help, they were able to stop the bird without too much hassle. However, as he looked over at Urayama, he was a bit worried at how calm he looked. Not bad, not bad, the scientist called out. But it wouldn't be a proper experiment if I didn't test the upper limits of my test subjects. He once again pressed a button on his wrist, and the ground tiles below the Thunderbird started to glow. What the? Both John and Elise shouted out. Just like before, electricity shot out from the tiles on the floor and into the Thunderbird. The pinned-down bird then started to rile up, screeching and thrashing about underneath the dark bird's talons. Damn it, I can't hold him! John struggled to keep the bird in place as it thrashed around and shot lightning in random directions. I breathe. The Thunderbird eventually broke free, knocking John off his feet. It then started to grow again, this time towering several stories high, almost reaching to the top of the large castle. Cringer-based. The bird cried out again, but this time, instead of sounding like a bird in pain, it sounded much more demonic and rage-filled. As it screamed, the sound of roaring thunder bellowed out from the bird, and sporadic bolts of lightning filled the sky. What the hell? Elise was in shock. What she was looking at was unlike anything she had seen before. The raw power alone would put most natural disasters to shame, let alone the size of the creature before her. A stray hit of lightning right in front of her broke her train of thought and reminded her about the extreme amount of danger she was in. But she was in too much fear to move even an inch. How do you like it? This is what these birds are truly capable of, Urayama sneered. That's enough, John called out. Call this bird off before you destroy this entire area. Even if I wanted to, I can't. The only thing that could calm this bird... Even if I wanted to, I can't. The only thing that could calm this bird's blind rage is the killing of the person it thinks did this to him. And I don't think that's me. John realized what was going on and turned to Elise. The enormous bird made of pure electricity was staring her down, before lunging towards the shivering small figure. Right before contact, John jumped in front of the bird and grabbed it with dark talons. But unlike before, that was not nearly enough to stop it, let alone grab hold of the huge bird. If anything, the gesture only made the bird angrier as it shook free. I'm sorry for dragging you into my mess, Elise, John solemnly stated, with his back to the princess. She was still in shock and couldn't say anything back. But I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that at least you make it out of this in one piece. John felt nothing but guilt. The guilt of making enemies out of Urayama, the guilt of putting an innocent girl in harm's way, the guilt of even going to pick up the princess from that town in the first place. He knew that there was only one way to make things right. Urayama! I can't shout. My throat hurts. John shouted out to the mad scientist, but he didn't respond. Not that it mattered. You may think you know what these birds are capable of, and that everything is going to go your way. But I'm going to show you just how wrong you are. John closed his eyes and started to concentrate. The bird tattoo on his arm started to pulse and grow, going up his arm and covering his entire body in a thick black mist. This is the true power of my shadow bird. I need some more water and to rest my throat. And also next is my favorite chapter. She's going for the emotional fall before the rise. Intentional saying use pretty good. Eep! I was gonna say, if the Sonic inspirations haven't made themselves apparent, they will make themselves apparent very soon. Things are about to get anime AF. Whatever, go my shadow bird. I think I'm a little inconsistent on calling them shadow or darkness birds, but you get the idea. It's the same thing. They don't really have like official names. Meow, 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 meow. But yeah, so earlier when I said you were on the right train of thought, yeah, that's why, because Urayama was like, yeah, I purposely led her down the path to find out about my experiments. He left that key card on the table. He let her just waltz in. Just so he could have an opportunity to get her out in the middle of dead of night and kill her. It is fun writing a manipulator character because you're in charge of everything that the story does. So you just give that character the information that you have, and then that character knows what's going to happen and how things are going to play out. But you gotta not give him too much information or he'll be too overpowered. That's what's crazy about writing, is that you just make whatever. It's a blank page and then you just make whatever happens. Like, I could, like, in the next chapter, I could just have everyone turn into Teletubbies and all have a hug and get along and do well and happily ever after. I could just do that. There's nothing physically stopping me, and that is insane power to have. Evil man. I'm checking on Twitch. Okay. And then yeah, man, where did that go? Where it was two birds with one stone, one bird and one princess. Okay, here we go. It's two birds with one stone, or should I say one bird and one princess? See, I did it on... I used all those sayings on purpose, just so I could subvert it. I'm actually a genius. Why is this spacing so big? That would be why. I had this in like a separate document before I pasted it into Medium, so that's why things like that happen. Because trust me, I edited this more than I probably should have. Because again, it took me like almost effing 2 years to write. But that was also because of depression and tummy hurt. Anyway, I'll be right back. Again, use the tags to skip to the next part. Where is that? Do I not have the BRB thing here? Here we go, BRB DVD. Moo. Also glad I turned off my webcam there because I had to flash my titties to the fan. Because it's hot. I told you the one effing... Is my door closed? Okay. The one effing time I have to have good audio quality, it gets really effing hot and I need fans on, but I can't have fans on because it'll have background noise. But you get the idea. Anyway, this is my favorite chapter so far. I already said in a previous stream that this is like my favorite piece of writing that I've made so far. I know I haven't made a whole lot, but this is definitely by far my favorite. And this is my favorite chapter, so I'm looking forward to this. I will try to do it justice. But this is where crap goes down. Okay, I think I'm ready. Are we ready? Okay, goodbye chat. Goodbye chat. I'll miss you. We have 2 more chapters left, and then we can just sit here and chat for a while. Okay. Nice water. Water's good. Remember to drink your water. Okay. Chapter 9. Everything on the line. John opened his eyes and a powerful gust of wind exploded out from him, throwing off his overcoat and hat. What was left was a dark figure covered in a black fog, with eagle wings sprouting from its back. He had almost looked like a fallen angel. Elise stood in stunned silence. I've been hiding some things about the true abilities of my bird, John explained. Up until now, I've only been using a fraction of the powers this bird gives me. But if I let it take over my entire body, it can... But if I let it take over, my entire body can be used as a conduit for its power. But if using a bit of its power caused strain on your body, wouldn't this be even worse? Elise recalled the fallout from the bandit fortress. Don't worry about it. John looked back at Elise with a soft smile. Everything is going to be just fine. He spread his new wings and flew up with a burst of wind. Elise knew that John was lying about things being okay, but there was nothing she could do at this point. The dark smoke-covered flying cowboy finally made it up to the Thunderbird's eye level, a dozen meters above the ground. John took his knife and held it above his head. Where's my fidget? Okay. A strange energy started to radiate from the blade as dark smoke covered it and caused it to grow several times its size. He brought down the blade and a large slash of dark energy flew out and hit the Thunderbird in the head with a loud explosion. How'd you like that one, you oversized chicken? John was confident that his powers were more than enough to take care of the situation. However, when the smoke from the explosion cleared, the bird was barely scratched and still as angry as ever. Uh-oh. The bird then... Hold on. The bird then focused all its attention on the new opponent in front of it, and flew full speed at John. He flew up to avoid it while pulling his gun out and shooting several black laser beams at the bird. The bird spun around like a drill and deflected the blast while heading up to John. He managed to block the electric drill with his blade, but could only kick the bird back enough to give him time to fly away and ready another attack. But before he could do anything, a beam of light came flying towards him from the bird's mouth. With a quick reaction, John used one of his dark wings to block the blunt of the attack, but several stray sparks still hit him and left deep gashes in his body. The dark energy quickly patched up the wounds, and John was ready for another counterattack. The two monsters traded blows like this several times, but neither side seemed to be letting go. Meanwhile, Elise was on the ground, staring up at this intense battle with equal amounts of fear and awe. Explosions and bolts of lightning filled the sky as these two beasts of nature battled it out. She could also tell that this fight was taking a toll on John's body. As the battle progressed, she could see the top layer of his skin peel off while the black smoke regenerated it, before just peeling off again. This happened several times a second. The poor bird that was being forced to fight also looked pretty banged up. The innocent creature didn't want to fight, but was being driven mad by Urayama To make matters even worse, Elise knew that this was all her fault. If she didn't fall for Urayama's trap, if she didn't get kidnapped in the first place, if she wasn't so weak, none of this would have happened. She cursed her own powerlessness as she saw the two beings above her fight to the death. Was there nothing that she could do? My throat is dying. A few moments later, John and the Thunderbird came crashing down to the ground after trading massive blows. John dragged himself to his feet. Damn, I'm running out of time. The dark energy that surrounded John was flickering like a dying flame. His body wasn't doing much better, barely holding itself together in one piece. John looked over at the bird, who also looked pretty beat up, but it shook off that last attack and was ready for another. I have to finish things in the next attack, even if it destroys me. John steeled his resolve and focused all of his remaining power into the tip of his knife. The dark smoke covering his body up until now all moved to the blade and formed a large head of a pitch-black eagle. The Thunderbird responded in kind and crouched down to prepare its own final attack. Hopefully, this will make up for all the bad that I have done. With that final comment, John jumped forward with his sacrificial attack as the giant falcon made of lightning started to roar towards him in a ferocious manner. Like a hurricane approaching a thunderstorm, the two forces destroyed everything in their wake as they came barreling towards each other. However, right before his attack made contact, John saw a figure jump out in front of him. What the? He dug his feet into the ground and slid into a stop right before making contact with the figure, and he saw the back of a familiar person. "Elise, stop!" John cried out, but it was too late. The young princess held out her arms and caught the bird of lightning's head, taking the full brunt of its last attack in a large explosion. Bolts of electricity flew through the princess and scattered around behind her, covering her body in a countless number of vine-like scars. But through it all, she was still holding the giant bird in her embrace. It's okay. You don't have to fight anymore," Elise said weakly. The bird continued to thrash about and discharge electricity, but eventually the bird's movement started to settle down and it slowly started to shrink. There, it's okay." Elise kept holding on to the bird, desperately trying to hold back her own pain and calm the bird down. The force of nature that was the titanic bird made up of pure electricity was now back to its original size of a small falcon as it laid calmly in the princess's arms. "I'm so glad you're okay." With that, Elise collapsed to the ground with a loud thud, dropping the bird before it flapped away. "Elise!" John, still barely able to move himself, ran over to the princess and lifted her torso up in his arms. "Hey, wake up!" He shook her body, but she didn't respond. John then noticed just how bad of a shape she was in. There were endless fractals of burn scars all across her body. She had no pulse, and she laid there motionless. "It can't be! I don't want to lose anyone else!" John whispered in disbelief, looking at Elise's face. Even though there was no light left in her eyes, she still had a peaceful look on her face, as if she had finally helped someone with her own power. But still, that didn't change the one undeniable fact. Elise is dead. And I should have just let that sit, but I had to do a gasp. After a few moments, John put the princess's body down and stood up. The sadness he felt up until now was replaced with anger as he remembered who caused this to happen in the first place. "Urayama!" John screamed out in a blind rage and turned to where the mad scientist was, but that spot was empty. After looking around for a moment, John realized that Urayama was long gone. He probably ran off as soon as he found out everything was not going according to his plans. "I swear I'll get you for this, even if it's the last thing I do," John vowed to himself. "Oh my God!" a shrill voice screamed out. It was Elise's parents, the king and queen. All the commotion from the back courtyard must have woken up everyone in the castle, and after not being able to find the princess, her parents must have been the first ones out here. "Elise, sweetie, are you okay?" the queen said in a light panic. John looked away from the scene as the parents slowly started to realize the truth. "Did you do this?" a stern voice called out to John. He turned around and saw the king with a dire look in his eyes. John didn't bother responding. Even if he explained everything that just happened, there would be no way the grief-stricken parents would believe him. "Come back here," the king called out, but John was already on his way out the back exit of the courtyard. If he stuck around, the only thing that would happen is him getting thrown back in prison. Just then, John noticed a small yellow bird flying past him. Is that... It was the Thunderbird, which up until a few moments ago was a large beast almost as large as the castle, but now it was the size of a regular falcon. John thought that the bird flew off after the commotion, but it had come back. Why? My eyes are having problems. I don't know what you are, but get away from my daughter, the Queen's voice cried out. John turned around and saw the tiny yellow bird was trying to get close to Elise's body. Could it be? Stop! Let that bird in, John shouted out. And why would we listen to anything you have to say? The king scoffed. Because this might be the only way to save your daughter. But she's already... The king pondered for a moment. Humans in general are not the best decision makers, even in the most ideal situations. They usually rush to the first and easiest answer. But when stricken by grief, they can make even more irrational decisions. John was betting on just that as he asked the grieving parents to let that strange bird near their daughter's body. Fine, the queen spoke up. It's not like it can do anything worse. The two parents backed away from Elise's body, and the yellow bird hopped on top of her chest and stared into her lifeless eyes. As it did this, a small dot of light left the bird's eyes and fell onto her face. Does the bird feel remorse for what it did? A minute later, the bird threw its head into the air and let out a cry that sounded like a melancholic melody. Just then, the bird started to evaporate into a light mist that fell and covered the princess's body as the morning sun started to light up the courtyard. After a moment, the princess's finger began to twitch. Then her whole body started to rumble. The once dead princess began to sit up. Oi, my head! What just happened? Elise groaned. Elise, you're alive! Both her parents cried out in joy as they rushed to give their dazed daughter a hug. Wait, I'm alive? Elise was sure her interference at the end of that last battle ended her, but she guessed she was wrong. More importantly, wait, Mom? Dad? What are you two doing here? We heard the commotion from outside and couldn't find you in your room, so we assumed the worst. The two parents with tears in their eyes continued to smother the young princess. Well, I'm glad you two are okay too. She was just happy to live another day to see her parents again. But what about John? She looked over her shoulder to see John staring at her with a confusing look on his face. I don't know what he's all grumpy about, but I'm glad he's okay as well. As John looked on at this happy family reunion, he saw a strange mark on Elise's back that was not there before. This confirmed his suspicions of what exactly happened, but he decided that he wouldn't ruin this happy moment and decided to tell them ruin this happy moment and decided to tell them all about that later. Just then, all the exhaustion that John felt hit him all at once. He then collapsed onto the ground. John, are you okay? Elise pried herself away from her family and ran over to the passed-out cowboy. Someone call a doctor! Soon after, John was rushed to the medical facilities in the castle. Oh my god! Told you, I like that chapter. I also think reading back on it, I think I did a really good job of like switching the perspective of the two characters, because I had John fighting at the beginning, and then Elise thinking, and then John fighting more, and then Elise jumping in, and then John being sad, and then Elise going back to being like, what the fudge is going on? Dearly Beloved started playing. I like that one a lot. Oh, I'm so happy. I know. Listen, I'm happy that at least I like my story, but it also makes me really happy when other people like my story. Yo, what if he looked even more bird-like and his chest was exposed and fuzzy? Wouldn't that be funny? I mean, I'm not stopping you from making any fan art. I spent all my budget on this artwork that I'm very happy with. So, but yeah, if I were to get a second piece of artwork, something in the scene would have definitely been it. Udi, I'm a bottom 5 human being. Dearly Beloved starts playing. The fan art minds are calling. I'll probably have a new piece of art, at least maybe not as big and fancy as this one, but definitely some new piece of artwork for the next episode. Like maybe one new piece of artwork per arc. would be good. Ideally, I would like to make it like a light novel and have illustrations like throughout, but I don't got the budget for that. But yeah, I also really just like this moment where just the phrase "Elise is dead." I don't think you want my vision to look up the basis of the scene because I will not restrain myself. I made it somewhat intentional on purpose, so you could view it as anything. He kind of fused with the bird and got like a super form. Okay. That was anime as fuck. Anime / Sonic AF. But yeah, if you're confused about what just happened, that is the correct response. And I'm only an hour 16, so this is about as long as the last one. I just locked in more. He's getting pecs. Whoops, the wrong one. Look at him. I will give you one more fun fact before we move on. In the original, I think I might have talked about this before, but in the original version of this artwork, John did not have an undershirt on, and the artist drew him with like pecs and like a deep V, and then sent me the sketch, and I was like, this just a tiny bit now that I know that's exactly what I told you to draw, but now that I see it actually drawn down, I think that might be a little too much. So we gave him a shirt. What was that one Tumblr post about how there was like a shirtless dude in front of a Minotaur and everyone thought that was like some sort of like gay Minotaur smut when it was just like a action adventure story? And the author was like, okay, I'm gonna go back to my artist and we're gonna redo the entire cover because you guys are completely wrong about what this story is about. But if you've seen that picture, that does look like the cover of some gay Minotaur smut, I'm not gonna lie. Also, I could be moving a little bit more in the center. Okay, anyway. Check on Twitch, are you doing okay? Okay, cool, you're doing okay. You know, I don't have Dom here to immediately ban somebody if something happens, but I also don't have chat on screen when I'm not looking at it, so we're good. What is this? Oh, this is the old chat box. I can get rid of this. Meow, meow, meow. Okay, final chapter, then we can yap. Goodbye, chat. I'll be right back. Let me just take a big swig of water. Chapter 10, The Price of Battle. A few days after the battle in the courtyard, John woke up in what looked like a hospital room. Oh good, you're finally awake. Where's my fidget? Elise said with a smile. She was off to the side of the room filling out paperwork. Her hair was down and in a mess. She had clearly been working overtime while John was out, but she still had her signature red outfit on, set to princess mode. She set down her clipboard and came over to John's bed. I'm choking on water, hold on. Okay. What happened? Where am I? You're in my castle's medical room. After that battle, you were somehow more beat up than me, so we had you rushed here, Elise explained, trying to sound as professional as possible. It's been a few days. I was almost worried you wouldn't wake up, she said with a pout. Elise was actually worried sick the whole time, filled with guilt that her screw-ups were going to put John permanently out of commission, but she didn't want to admit that out loud due to her pride. I see. John started to piece everything together. And I assume you are the reason why I'm not in jail for what happened? Yep, Elise smiled. After that night, I explained everything to my parents, how Urayama was doing dangerous experiments, how he tried to kill me, and how you saved me. She looked very appreciative towards John. I don't know if I'd go that far. John still remembered how that battle ended for Elise, but was hesitant to tell her, so he changed the subject. Do we have any idea where Urayama went? Elise shook her head. After the battle, we searched all over the castle and the surrounding area, but there was nothing to be found. So, he got away. John gritted his teeth. It appears so. We also looked into his secret lab, but everyone who worked for Urayama was gone, and most of the data on the computers had been wiped. The only new piece of information we could find was pieces of encrypted data, referencing somewhere called the Pirate City, Elise explained. That's that port town not too far south of here. I wonder what business he has there. John pondered for a moment, but could see Elise fidget, like she wanted to say something, although he had a pretty good idea of what she wanted to talk about. So, John, she timidly spoke up, about that night. Yep, here it is. What about it? After I jumped in front of that bird's attack, I could have sworn I died, Elise said solemnly. That wasn't solemn, but you get the idea. I remember there being intense pain and burns all over my body before everything became cold. I thought for sure that was the end, but then I remember waking up next to my parents. Elise leaned in. Do you have any idea what happened? I do. John got distant. But it's pretty complicated, and I don't know if you even want to hear it in the first place. I can handle it, Elise said confidently. After all we've been through, you should know by now that I'm not some weak princess that can't take some bad news. John let out a light chuckle. She was right. Even if they only known each other for a few days at this point, they had made it through several tight spots together. Between the bandit fortress, her sneaking around the castle, and her help in the fight against the bird, John knew that Elise was the type of person that could handle herself. Okay, I'll tell you. Elise looked intently at John. But not now. What? The princess stumbled in her seat. Like I said, it's complicated, so I need some time to gather my thoughts. I would also like your parents to be there as well. Yeah, that makes sense. Elise rolled her eyes. Fine. Mouse. Fine. Take as much time as you need. Besides, the king and queen have something to say to you too. She stood up and gathered her paperwork. Just let me know when you are ready so I can set up an official audience. Thank you. The two traded two soft smiles before Elise left the room. Oh boy, how am I going to explain this? We now got the light novel post-fight scene, end of volume exposition, explanation of what the fudge just happened. Sorry, not breaking the fourth wall in the middle of a chapter. My fidget! Okay. Okay, I'm okay. A few days later, John was fully recovered and ready for his explanation for what happened that night the princess died. Well, maybe ready is an overstatement, but he was as ready as he could be. He pushed open the large doors of the throne room where the king, queen, and Princess Elise were waiting in anticipation. I'm dying. Okay, we're almost done. Then I can turn back on the fans. John also noticed the empty spot next to the thrones where Urayama used to stand, thankful he was now in friendly company. Mr. John Doe, the king spoke up, your royal audience to exchange information pertaining to the elemental birds and the details of the night of W87 will now commence. Mouse, please stick with me a little longer. During John's recovery, he learned how this community's calendar worked. They split the year into 4 seasons, each for one season. So W87 was near the end of winter, and considering it was now early spring, the timing made sense. That is quite the official way of putting that, but I guess you are the king after all, John said sarcastically before taking a deep breath. There's no easy way to say this, so I'll just start with the basics and stop me if you have any questions. The king gestured for him to continue. John then raised up his unsleeved arm, and his tattoo of a black eagle started to glow before coming to life and spreading its head and wings out. So, as you know, I'm in the possession of something you call the Darkness Bird, which I believe is in the same category as that Thunderbird from that night. I've also seen him do quite many amazing things with that power, Elise chimed in. It is a very useful thing to have on your side. Yes, but it does have its own share of drawbacks. Like not being able to overuse it, she asked. It's more than that. John put away his bird and continued. Before the bird was attached to me, it was in the possession of my community. However, we had a very difficult time understanding what it could do, let alone keeping it under control. So we had to call in someone claiming to be knowledgeable in these kinds of animals. Urayama? Elise guessed. Exactly. He started doing experiments with the darkness bird. Not supposed to be capitalized. Exactly. He started doing experiments with the darkness bird. I heard that he was trying to fuse the bird to a person to harness its power. However, his experiments started to get increasingly dangerous. He found himself with fewer and fewer volunteers until one day. John's words started to get more somber as he tried to keep his composure. One night, I came home to an empty house. My entire family had gone missing. Knowing how desperate Urayama was for test subjects, I had a strong feeling where they went. I rushed over to Urayama's lab and my worst fears came to fruition. They were all dead. My mom, my dad, my kid sister, all on the floor by Urayama's feet. John started to break down a little, with frustrated tears welling up in his eyes. John, Elise tried to offer words of comfort. I'm so sorry that happened. It's okay. John tried to snap himself out of it to finish his story. After I saw that gruesome scene, I grabbed a nearby surgical knife and rushed towards Urayama, but I was blinded by anger and sadness, so I didn't see the gun he had. I was shot directly through the heart. During my dying breath, I reached out toward the darkness bird. I thought that if I could take that bird away from here, then no one else had to die like my family did, but I could only touch one of its talons before I lost consciousness. When I woke up, the lab I was in had been completely destroyed, and I had this tattoo on my arm. That's when Urayama finally figured it out. Before I ran away, Urayama explained what just happened. He said that the reason his experiments were failing before was because a living human body was not a good conduit. This was because his test subjects kept dying due to the immense power of the bird. But if the person didn't have any feeling in them, then they could take the shock of the bird entering them. In other words, the person the bird fused to had to already be dead. With this, gas filled the throne room. Then that means, Elise clasped her hands to her mouth. Here, take a look at your back. John handed her a small mirror. He figured it was easier for her to see than for him to explain it. Elise took the mirror and lifted up her hair so she could see the upper back that her dress exposed. Across her back was the tattoo of a yellow falcon with its wings stretched over her shoulder blades. Everyone but John was frozen in shock, but this upset the princess more than anyone. That means I really did die that night, and this bird revived me? Yes, but this was the part that John really didn't want to have to say, but Elise deserved the truth. Fusing with the birds doesn't bring you back from the dead, Elise. You are still... Fusing with the birds doesn't bring you back from the dead. Elise, you and I are still dead. A long moment of silence filled the room. What do you mean, still dead? Elise screamed out. I'm still here, aren't I? Walking and talking around? That's just how it is. John expected this kind of reaction and continued his explanation. Even if the birds can help us maintain brain function and preserve our bodies a little, it doesn't change the fact that we are just rotting corpses. But, Elise stumbled. If the birds can do that much, that means we can still just go about our lives as normal, right? The birds can only do so much. Ever since I fused with my bird, my body's non-essential functions have been slowly shutting down one by one. First it was my sense of smell, then my sense of taste. At this rate, I estimate I only have about a year left before I lose brain function and become a mindless zombie piloted by this bird. Fidget toy! The room was once again in stunned silence, but Elise spoke up. You said this happened a few years ago, right? So that means I at least should have plenty of time, right? She was desperately going through every scenario where everything could be okay. However, John Mercy killed her hopes. I believe the way someone dies can affect how quickly they decay. I was just shot once, but you, princess, your body was burned to a crisp. I suspect you don't have much longer than a year as well. That can't be true. After a moment of silence, the queen spoke up. Thank you for your explanation. No problem. Now, what was it you wanted to say? Given this new information, we need to discuss how this changes our plans. Please give us one moment. The king and queen got up from their seats and disappeared into a private room behind the thrones. During this time, John and Elise stood in silence. The princess was still in shock and trying to process the news that she had a strict time limit on the rest of her existence. The cowboy figured out that this was best and that he would let the princess come to terms with it on her own. Almost done, I swear. After a few minutes, the king and queen came back into the room and sat back down on their own thrones. Mr. John Doe, the king spoke up, we have a deal to offer you. A deal? Yes, out of everyone in the kingdom, you're the most capable and knowledgeable when it comes to these elemental birds and the traitor Urayama. So we ask of you that you set out on a journey to find and bring Urayama to justice, the king declared. Okay. No way. First of all, I don't even know where to begin searching for Urayama, much less find out what he's up to. I haven't finished yet, the king glanced over at Elise before continuing. In addition, we also ask that you investigate further into these elemental birds and find out if there is a way to reverse the curse that they impose. That's even more unreasonable, John complained. How am I expected to do either of those things when I don't even know where to start? We believe that you are aware that Urayama left one clue after he left. The king stared down John with an intense glare. Pirate City. That location is just a few days south of here. In addition, we heard rumors from the townsfolk that some sort of supernatural animal was seen in that area. Perhaps it is another one of your birds. We will give you supplies and you can start your investigation there. At the end of this, you will also be handsomely rewarded for your efforts. John thought for a moment. His main goal was getting revenge on Urayama, so that part aligned with the king and queen's wishes. But still, trying to figure out more about these birds seemed far-fetched. Birds far-fetched? On the other hand, Urayama himself is investigating the birds as well, so maybe by finding out more about them, John could find out what Urayama was truly up to. And the royalty-level reward also didn't sound half bad. Alright, I accept your offer. I'll head out, find all the secrets of the elemental birds, and stop Urayama once and for all, John declared. Everything seemed to be done and done, but a high-pitched voice cried out, I want to go too! Elise finally broke her silence. What? No way, John protested. Why not? This involves me just as much as it does you. Urayama hurt a lot of people in my community. I want him brought in just as much as you do. Besides, I have an elemental bird with me too. I could be useful in your investigation into them. But still, you're a princess. John looked over to the king and queen in hopes that they would keep her from doing something so reckless. We approve of Elise joining in on this mission, the queen calmly stated. What? John and Elise said at the same time. During our meeting, we suspected that our proactive daughter would choose to go on this mission as well. We think it will be a good opportunity to learn about the outside world and grow on her own. In addition, what she said it was true. Having another elemental bird nearby would aid you in this mission, would it not? That is true, John muttered, but still, this will be a dangerous mission. Are you sure you want your daughter going along with it? Oh, I'm sure you will take good care of our princess, or there will be dire consequences, the queen said with a cold look in her eyes. But, John looked around the room. The king and queen had confident expressions. Please, Mr. John, Elise looked at him with large puppy dog eyes. John saw that everyone else had already made a decision, so there was no point fighting it any longer. He sighed. Fine, I'll take the princess along with me in my mission. Yay! The princess leaped with joy. Thank you so much. Just don't slow me down. Yes, sir. And I expect you to train hard while we're out to control your bird powers. Yes, sir. And stop being so annoying. Yes, sir. The king and queen watched the silly scene play out with a light chuckle. They still weren't entirely sure this was a good idea, but they knew that they couldn't stop Elise from doing what she truly wanted. Last scene, I promise. Or should I say, unfortunately, this is the last scene? For now. A few days later, the agreed-upon day where John and Elise would start their mission was here. John had prepared everything he needed to set out. Everything except one thing. Where did that princess go? He had looked up and down the castle, but Elise was nowhere to be found. I'm just going to leave without her. John headed down to the garage where his motorcycle was parked. Oh, hey, there you are, Elise said as she sat in the garage chewing down on a burger. I was the one looking for you. Never mind, John sighed. Are you ready to go? Yep, Elise finished her burger and stood up. I said my goodbyes to everyone and packed my bags. I just wanted one more Newingdom burger before we left. You sure like your burgers, John rolled his eyes. Yeah, but Elise got a little quiet. I have noticed something. John perked up his ears. This burger tastes just a little bit duller than I'm used to. I'm sure the royal chefs made it exactly the same. She sighed. Do you think this is because of the whole dead thing? Yes, I do, John said bluntly. There was no use trying to give the princess false hope. I see. Elise got a little sad before slapping her cheeks to get herself back to normal. Well then, we should get started on our mission soon. All we need to do is find out what Urayama is planning and solve the secret of the elemental birds to get our bodies back to normal, Elise said with a smile. You make it sound easy. I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will be, as long as we have the right attitude, she said with a beaming smile. Let's just get going. John gave a signature eye roll to Elise's usual optimism. Yes, let's. The two grabbed their bags and started heading to John's bike. Oh, by the way, let's also look for my sister while we are out. She's still missing. We don't have time for that. Please, Elise said with her puppy dog eyes. Fine, we can keep a lookout, but we aren't going to go out of our way for her. Yay! As Elise was celebrating, the two approached John's vehicle. What happened to my bike? John shouted out in dismay. Do you like it? I had one of my engineers modify it a little. John's once muscular and manly-looking motorcycle now had a little sidecar bolted to the right side of it, and it was oh so very pink. It even comes with helmets and a little place to store our bags. Elise smiled, blissfully unaware of how this new addition made John feel. Or maybe she did know and didn't care. Fine, John realized that it was pointless to fight it. As long as it still runs fine, it doesn't matter. That's the spirit. The two packed up the sidecar of the motorcycle and hopped on. John on the actual bike park, and Elise in the pink sidecar with her helmet on. Are you sure about this? John asked. This will be the last time to bail out if you want. Absolutely, Elise responded confidently. I have never been more sure about anything in my entire life. Well then, I hope you won't have any regrets, John said. Elise responded with a smile. With that, John started up the bike and it roared out of the castle garage, due south. At the same time that John and Elise were leaving the kingdom, several army-looking guys were watching the two from binoculars up on a hill. We finally found you, one of the guys spoke up. You can run and change your name all you want, but you can't hide from your past, Unit 04. As the princess and cowboy made their way out of the kingdom, unaware they were being watched, they could feel the fresh spring breeze on their faces as they started their new adventure. Episode 2 and woo! Special thanks to all my beta readers. Your valuable feedback helped make the story as good as it is. I had them beta read it episode 1 and 2 at the same time. Giga Thunders, aka Dom, Solar Mom, and my step sibling. And thank you for reading up to this point. I hope you all enjoyed. I like it a lot. I'm not sure when episode 3 will be out. It will be out when it's done, okay? I have some other short stories I want to do before I do episode 3, but this will be an ongoing series. I do have a long-term plan for the series, so I hope you enjoy what future things may come of. Hold on. Dead Spy Road Trip. Hour 40. I thought I turned off. Oh my gosh, hold on. I forgot. It's one of those things I have to turn off every single stream. Live chat translation off. I'm dying. But at least I can stop reading now. Oh my god. Welcome back, chat. How you doing? How we doing? How we doing? I don't think you want my vision looked of as the basis of the scene, because I will not restrain myself. He's getting pecked. The demonic bird pecked. Let's go. I can't believe they're dead. Now they have to be spies on their road trip to stop the curse. Okay, good. I'm glad you got it. Because I'm like, okay, hold on. Wait till the end of episode 2, and then you'll see why the series is called Dead Spy Road Trip. Because they're dead, and they're also spies, and they're going on a road trip to try to solve the whole being dead part. Very Full Metal Alchemist inspired. I know every time I talk about Full Metal Alchemist, I'm like, I don't love it as much as other people love it, but I still love it a lot. I still like Full Metal Alchemist very much. So that was very much like, you know, and now going on a journey to get their bodies back to normal, and then John and Elise are kind of doing the same thing. Congrats on your vocal cord surviving. Thanks. So yeah, I guess I'll hit publish. I don't know if publishing late at night is a good idea, but hey, whatever. Boom. There you go. Hold on. Don't look. Okay. You just published a story. There we go. It's a 49-minute read that I took an hour and 40 to read. There's actually JoJo Part 5 subplot that's eerily similar to this. Oh no! I accidentally made a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure reference. Without even knowing. That's crazy. But yeah, hold on. When was actually my last story? Because it was it was Dead Spy Road Trip episode 1, but before that it was the Palutena fanfic, which was January 2024. So yeah, over 2 years ago. Again, barring any long depressive episodes or very long tummy hurt arc or moving 18 times. I've had a very rough 2 years, okay? 2024 and 2025 were a little, and the front half of 26 were a little rough. Okay, but it's something that doesn't get referenced a lot, so you're still original, swear. I think last stream Dom talked about how, like, oh yeah, he had an electromagnet weapon idea that was similar to like Elise's weapon, where it was like a bunch of blades held together by electromagnets, and then we were just both like, yeah, well, nothing is completely original. We're all just stealing from something. But unlike AI, we are not copy and pasting things, and human can actually, you know, take all of the influences that it has taken in and create something, you know, unique, something interesting, something different, you know? Because even if you think about like the most original works, they still had a lot of like different inspirations. Like Evangelion was inspired by like an old like French movie, like stuff like that. But I think the key is to just have like a large breadth of influences. So I got like obviously main influences being like light novels and anime, but we got a lot of different things in there. Like I said, the action adventure of like stuff like Inuyasha, Pokemon, Full Metal Alchemist. I forgot. I don't have a written afterword for this. And then we also got Sonic. A lot of Sonic in here. And probably a lot of other influences I don't even know about. Like I said before, that I read like some old fan fiction a while ago that I wrote like years ago, and I'm like, this is just a trans metaphor. What the fuck? I didn't know that at the time, but that's how apparent. That's what I just read it, and I'm just like, that's it. That's 100% what this is. But yeah, I think it's just important to have a large breadth of inspiration and combine them in unique and interesting ways. Like, just to take, for example, the main characters, a cowboy and a princess themselves are not unique ideas for characters to have in a story, but combining them both, that's where I'm like, yeah, that's probably, that hasn't been done in this exact same way before. I'm sure it has, but, you know, it's a combination of a lot of different things. If you think about it, every story is just a remix of the dictionary. It's okay, my last 3 years have been strange. I just found out a week ago that Mother 3 is heavily inspired by a 3-part novel series that is literally based around 2 twins named Lucas and Klaus. So, like, yeah, even the best of the best can have clear-cut inspiration. Oh, yeah. This is the part where we can just kind of, like, chill out and be like, okay, the story is done. Yeah. I think I will, I don't know, I think I might take my reading of the first episode and my reading of this episode and just like cut out all the things and like stitch them together. So I want to say episode 1 was like an hour and a half, and episode 2 I just did a local recording that was an hour and 40. So like 3 episodes, Dead Spy Road Trip, episode 1 and 2. Although, when do I release that? I don't think I release it now. I think I release it like later on when I could release it now as like a, hey, if you missed it, here you go. But A, I have the like streams, and B, I want to pad out my advert, my shilling. So I think like when episode 3 is about to come out, I will release episode 1 and 2 for people to catch up. I think that's the best way to go for it. Ideally, maybe sometime in the future, I would like to compile these two, or a couple of episodes of Dead Spy Road Trip and like an actual like physical novel and release that. I think that would be pretty cool. That might be a far way down the line because A, I would have to need the money to justify that, and B, I would have to finish the effing series first. Because, I mean, I know I could just self-publish on Amazon and copy and paste and make it into a book, but, like, I don't know. I don't want to go to all that effort if no one's going to buy it, and also, I want to make it, like, a nice release. Like, I might hire, like, an actual, like, editor. Like, you know when light novels, like, a lot of light novels get started as like web novels on like Shousetsu ni Naru, like the Japanese website where you can post light novels, and then those get adapted into like published novels, and then they go through like an editor and some changes, and then the people fight over which one is better. Like there's a lot of people that argue if like the ReZero web novel or light novel is better, but I would like to like I don't know about changing too much, but I do want to like give it to an actual like professional editor and be like, hey, can you make this like professional and good, like pay an actual editor to make it good for me. And I do think I'm kind of, and I did leave some gaps here and there for like side stories to happen, so maybe that can be an incentive to buy the physical version. Like, here, where there's a few days after, like there's a undetermined amount of time, a few days between when, you know, John and Elise were just hanging out in the castle and preparing, like maybe some side stories could go there. I don't know. Or somewhere, I don't know. Like maybe John and Elise could make like other side stops or something. Like maybe when I have the story more fleshed out, I could like add some extra like scenes. I've seen other light novels do that. Where they're like, hey, the web novel has all this, and then if you want to buy the physical version, in addition to having something physical, I just want to have a physical copy just so I can have it. But also, yeah, an incentive to get the physical version is like, hey, if you are a big fan and you want some extra scenes, I don't know. That's all just hypothetical stuff. First, I just want to like write and become a better writer, and then finish the story, and then do a lot more other stuff before that. Meow meow meow. But that is my ambition. Cause like, how long are like novels normally? Novel length. 70,000 and 100,000 words. And right now I'm currently at 8,000 plus 12,000 is 20,000. So I roughly need to make it like 5 times more long. Yeah, about 5 times as long. So maybe when we get to episode 10, it might be the whole series, honestly. I think you got the right idea. Get the established following and keep training that writing skill, yeah. Because I will keep this up. Like, I will keep, even though I have plans to re-edit this and re-release it, I will have the free version up on both YouTube and Medium. I will not take these down. It's like, you know, Cave Story did the same thing. You can still go to the creator's website and just download Cave Story for free. But if you want to support and you want some extra content, then you can buy the other versions. But you could just buy you could just download the PC, the original PC game. But yeah, I keep getting like a more established audience and better writing skill. I'm just trying to see. I don't know what I'm gonna do for the recap. Cause like, okay, what I mean by like, okay, recaps can spoil some things. So like, let's say, Pixel, my beloved. Let's say, is that not showing on screen? Not play Keto Blaster. Me? Now? I did play Ika-chan. Keto Blaster made by Pixel? Yeah, it was made by Pixel. When? 2014? That's crazy. Because I remember, I guess before 2014, back when I was obsessed with Cave Story, I played Ika-chan, which was another release by Pixel where you play as a little squid. It's on Switch. I'll add it to my wish list. I mean, I was gonna say, I'll add it to my wish list and buy it when it's on sale, but it's on sale currently for $3. I was gonna say, people are talking about Grand Theft Auto 6 being a $80 game, and I'm like, if that happens, I'm just going to indie games, because holy frick, indie games are really good, and there's so many that I need to play. So like, So instead of, sorry, the trailer started to play. So instead of buying one copy of Grand Theft Auto, I could buy like 50 indie games. Ika-chan is so cute, man. Antagonist is a boss cameo in Cave Story 2. I think that's how I originally found out about Ika-chan. There's also in the early days of me like discovering, oh yeah, cool art is made by cool people that also make other cool arts. So maybe I should, if I like this thing, I should check out this other thing. It's like the early days back in the early 2010s. But anyway, what I was talking about with the recap is like, you know, let's say episode 7, I decide to introduce, like, Elisa's sister shows up. If I say in the recap, also they're looking for Elisa's sister, that's kind of a spoiler that she's about to show up in that episode, where that would otherwise be like a cool reveal. I've seen shows do that before. Supernatural did that like all the effing time, where like in the recap they would be like, oh, also remember this random character from 2 seasons ago? Yeah, just saying. And I'm like, well, I know that's about to happen. Miss the old indie days so bad. Finding about random ass freeware Metroidvania game for Deceased Crab. I mean, there's still a lot of effing cool indie games being made and discovered. And there's still a lot of ones I want to play. Like, what was that one? Home with Hime? Yeah, Homer Hime, which apparently is like the coolest effing action, like character action game released in the past like 20 years. That just got shadow dropped on Steam, and it's like $20. So yeah, I don't know. Indie games are cool. Support independent artists. I was thinking, you know what? People are worried that like the AAA games space, the games industry is gonna die. I would be fine with that, and then I could just play indie games, and everything would be cool. I would be okay if I would be okay with every single major publisher going under, and then I could just play indie games, and then we wouldn't have to worry about $80 games, and we could just play in $20 indie games. You have to have the cynics going ballistic and being annoying. Oh, I like this thing, but ooh, the fan base. I don't like the fan base. You almost drive me insane as much as Poke does. Because Poke was like, oh yeah, I played that game, but I can't stand the fan base. And I'm like, as somebody who never interacts with, quote, the fan base, I don't understand what you mean. Mina the Hollower comes out soon. See, I don't even... What is that? That's probably a cool-ass game I've never heard of before, too. Oh, I have heard of this. I think it was in an Indie Direct, where you play as a little mouse. Yeah, you play as a little mouse, and it's like a top-down like Zelda game. And it's like a Game Boy Color graphics. That's so sick. Why don't I play more indie games? Why am I playing dumb Nintendo games? Those are the three things that I play. Nintendo games, anime games, and indie games. Mostly that has a lot of overlap, but you get the idea. Meow, meow, meow. But yeah, I will be careful in the recap, because, like, you know, it's like, oh, also, they're looking for their sister. It's like, well, they're also looking for Elise's sister. And I'm like, well, you know that Elise's sister is going to show up at some point. And I've written down everything that I need to remember to bring up later. Like, I remember Rose was injured but not killed, so she's got to show up at some point. Urayama definitely being, like, the main antagonist. He's going to return at some point. Elise's sister is going to show up at some point. Pirate City is obviously going to be the next destination. Because we got a princess and a cowboy, so what next? So who do you think is going to be the next main character? Pirates. Don't worry about it. I have started, I have a general outline for how I want the series to go, and I also have, like, a semi, like, more detailed outline for how I want the next arc to go. I say arc instead of episode because I don't know how long it's going to be, because I'm going to try to keep it under 10,000. If I can keep it under 10,000, that would be good, because this was like a little too long and hurt my throat. But yeah, what I want to work on next is my lore, which is I've already started working on. I've already started working on the next series. Or the next story. So the next story will not take 2 years to come out. Hopefully, I'm not, you know what? I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say anything. I was going to say, hopefully it'll come out by the end of, and I'm like, nope, I'm not going to say anything. It will come out before 2 years. That I will make that a promise. It has already started work. And unless I come down with a horrible bodily injury or become homeless again or something. Which might be a possibility. I might be having to change jobs next month, but we'll deal with that when it comes to it. Be homeless for Pride Month. But again, we're not gonna assume the worst. That's my anxiety talking. Everything's gonna be fine. So let's not assume that anything horrible is gonna happen in the next 2 years to stop me. Also, something else that took a while is that I wrote these two together and it was like the beginning of a series. So I had twice the amount of work that I normally have to release a story. And then I have, like all the work of creating a actual, like, series, like the beginning of a series. Like I have to have the outline and the characters and the lore consistent, and then also I gave it to the beta readers, and then so that was like more editing and more work, and I think it worked out really well. Shout outs to the beta readers. Beta readers are cool. But yeah, other than my intro lore, I've not made any other lore posts. Not even 1,000 words. And then Fighting Time was, I think, a little long. Yeah, 10,000. And then the Palutena fanfiction, that is still my desktop background, by the way, is 7,000. So I think that this Dead Spy Road Trip episode 2 is the longest thing I've written, with being 12,000. That's crazy. But yeah, the next story has already begun. Not even pre-production. I've started on the first draft. I have an outline. I have everything I want to do. It is of the first thing, and I'll give you a little hint. I'll give you a little tiny hint of what my next story might be about, because I might have foreshadowed it already. There we go. That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say. For the audio only listeners, it is the thumbnail for the third part of Tomodachi Life Living the Dream, where I made a bunch of Enyou characters. But yeah, is there any last things I wanna say about this? Just gonna scroll through and see if anything pops out to me. Again, what I think will help me last this is that help me write like through an entire series of this is I love the dynamic between John and Elise. They're just really fun characters to write, and they're interesting characters with, you know, John having a tragic past and Elise, you know, working through her helplessness and powerlessness and trying to help people and all that. I think they're interesting. I have an arc for them to go, and there are interesting characters to write. They have cool dynamics. And also, like, the world, I think, is cool, where, like, everyone's in, like, isolated communities that are, like, very different. Like, so far we had, like, a Wild West-styled, like, bandit town, like, a bandit fortress, a medieval, like, Western-style castle town, and then we also have, like, a pirate city. And there will be a lot more interesting locations. So I think this, to use another euphemism or whatever the fudge, this series has got legs. A Bobberson. As long as I don't have to make up any characters' names, then we're good. Just imagine an old man named Bobberson tilling the fields with a pregnant wife. I have to bring that back at some point, I guess. you know, even though I just have it there just to have it there. It's like you know Twilight Princess, there was that random pregnant girl, and then during the credits she had the baby, and that was the entire arc. That was it. Like, you helped her carry like a baby carriage during the prologue. Meow, meow, meow. Nintendo undelayed the Zelda movie, by the way. They're like, yeah, by the way, it's releasing a month earlier. Don't worry about it. Not so like Tony. Tony's the meek looking guard. How did I describe him? The meek guard. Anyone else have any? Also, if you have anything that you want to talk or ask, I'll do my best not to spoil anything, but I will also answer questions or take notes of things if something wasn't clear enough. I think I did really well. Again, I also put it through beta readers. I've edited a lot more. My future things might not be edited as thoroughly, because I'm year fast, trying to do things faster, and then also yeah, I just want to release things faster, and also getting a better writer. Being a better writer will also let me write things faster. Because the customer actually had engaging topics to talk about for once, but I'm glad you had a lot of ideas lined up for the series so far. Oh yeah, I know. I'm a little disappointed. I'm happy because I've been working on this for the last 2 years, and I do want a little break. But B, I am a little like, do I really want to write those lore stories, or do I just want to get back to Dead Spy Road Trip? But I have plans for the lore stories. Again, for Mar, if you didn't see, this is my hint of what my next set of like 2 to 3 stories might be. I have some things planned. I like, you know what? Some beta readers were a little conflicted about this, but it was one of those things where I'm like, I like it a lot, so I'm keeping it. Where we have the Sonic Adventure style, where, you know, we get to the castle, and then we follow John's perspective as he gets betrayed, and then we go back in time, and we have literally copy and pasted the same dialogue from earlier Sonic Adventure style, but like through a different character's perspective. I like that a lot. I think Index also did that too. Index/Railgun, where Railgun had the same arc from Index, but from Misaka's perspective. So I like it when stories do that. So I was like, you know what? It was one of those things I want to really put in. Urayama, his name might be a signifier for maybe some of his backstory. I don't know. Meow, meow, meow. Again, it's one of those things where I'm like, I have a lot of lore planned, but I haven't written it yet, so let's not spoil too much. Hello, isn't there someone else who needs to approve? Every time I do Elise's voice, I try not to slip into my Valley Girl voice. Yeah, I'll be right back. Oh my fucking god. Also, I think where was it? It was like in this paragraph, I used the word large like 5 times. That's something somebody should have caught in editing. Me or the 3 beta readers should have caught in editing. Large entrance. Large set of stairs. Large double doors. Large hall. I mixed it up a little bit where I had intimidating thrones, but I used the word large like 4 times here. That was just my B moment. John sounding like Johnny on Bush doing a slight southern accent. Just saying, if we get an anime adaptation, I know who's playing John in the dub. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Also, I forget who voices Aizen, but he's got to do Urayama. I don't know who could do Elise, though. Hilary Hang. Has she done anything in forever? She was Fuko in the Clannad anime. But I don't know if she's done. I haven't seen her in anything. Meow, meow, meow. Apparently she's been in some isekai schlop. I'm not aware that most isekai even gets a dub. But she's done 2 roles so far in 2026. Isekai Nonbiri Noka 2 Season 2 and Mato Sen Seihai no Slave 2. Okay, so apparently she's still in things. She just relegated to isekai schlop. unfortunate. But yeah, get her to play Elise in the dub. What was I talking about? Anyway. Just going through this. Yeah, and then I have like a truncated scene. They made the side the castle under the throne as the scene played out exactly as Elise expected. So this is, I stole this, but there was like a fan translation of a light novel, and they didn't know how to translate this, so they just pasted it as is, and I was like, that's really funny, I'm taking that. Again, lots of inspirations, nothing is original, but I like that Elise collapsed on her bed in that shape, which is the kanji for Oki, but it kind of looks like a person just kind of sprawling their arms and legs out. I don't know, I thought it was funny. Because again, kind of earlier, I kind of was going for the, like, early, as I said earlier, I'm kind of going for, like, the early 2000s, like, anime, action-adventure anime vibes, where they have weird translations like that. So I thought it was fitting. And it was just something I like a lot, so we're keeping it. You can't make me. Don't ask me how we're gonna... You know what else I would also like, in addition to ADHD moment, in addition to having a physical version, it would also be nice to hire like a translator and have like a Japanese version and then post it on Shousetsu ni Naru. That'd be really funny. That'd be really fun to do. Because, I mean, I know what you're saying. Don't you know Japanese? Can't you write it? And I'm like, I know Japanese, but I'm not a good writer in Japanese. But I could definitely work with a Did I just squeak or did something beep? Yeah, if you're wondering where all the car noises are, I closed my window. I could definitely work with a translator to translate this into Japanese. And just... Because, like, I mean, you can machine translate it if you really want, but, you know, as a purist, someone who actually knows Japanese, I'm just like, I would not be happy with that. I mean, I could machine translate it and then edit it, but I still don't know. That'd still sound really weird, so yeah, whatever. The Toby Fox cancellation attempt steps. What happened? What happened? I'm not up to date with all the drama. Did Toby Fox get canceled for trying to translate the game Undertale into English or Japanese? Again, I guess the biggest thing I have to work on is desperate times call for desperate measures. I think two things I need to work on as a writer, other than general prose, is A, stop using fletching sayings like this, and B, write faster. I think is the two things I really want to work on. Oh yeah, and then I hope that Elise using her feminine wiles. Solar Mom. I ran this past some women. So, and they were like, yeah, it's fine, don't worry about it. So, and I don't think I went like too far. And I also said desperate time. It was a shallow and underhanded idea, but desperate times call for desperate measures. And you know, anime gotta have a little bit of fan service in that, right? Very buzzworthy sentence, so I'll just explain. People tried to crucify him for not doing a Latin American concert in his world tour, and then somehow the conversation jumped out. He was racist for only having English and Japanese translation of his games. I mean, obviously, I would love to have... I would love to have, you know, translations of my work in every language. But, you know, I only know English and Japanese, so, you know, if a Japanese... Like, I could work with a Japanese translator and be like, okay, this is how I imagine this sentence to be in Japanese. Or this is what, like, this terminology should be in Japanese. You know? Like, I'd have like an idea of like what the kanji for like Thunderbird or a Shadow Bird or something, stuff like that should be. And like how the characters would like talk in Japanese. Stuff like that. His explanation that set everyone crazy was that they only had 2 languages because that's the only one he knows. That's exactly what I said too. You're gonna crucify me for that? I swear, people just be starting drama over nothing. Especially in the VTuber community. If someone that got in trouble for being pro polyamory, and I'm like, why are you getting in trouble for that? I thought we were all cool. A consensual polyamory is fine. Sue me. Not me, maybe a 15-year-old or 2 though, yeah. People just be starting crap for no reason. This definitely will be something I will have to worry about when I get rich and famous. Okay, it's something I have to worry about now. I couldn't have that Star Fox guy coming into my stream one time. And then that sent me on a tirade to make a tweet. Because he was talking about how the Star Fox community is not woke because all the characters are cis and straight. And I'm like, excuse you? And then I shot him down. First of all, I banned him because he was being a dick in general, but also, what do you mean Star Fox is anti-woke? First of all, it was made by Nintendo, the company that just made Tomodachi Life, the wokest game I could possibly think of. And then also, Star Fox is heavily related, was a fundamental pillar in creating the furry community, and the furry community is best friends with the gay community, so like, I don't know how you look at Star Fox and you think anti-woke. Wokadachi Life, exactly. This is also why, Elise using her feminine wiles is also why I made sure to state that the characters were of age in the first episode. Because that was something that was implied and I had written down in the lore books, in the ancient texts, but the beta readers were like, how old is Elise supposed to be if she's doing this shit? And I'm like, oh yeah, I should probably date that clearly. The Force Femme Fox movement. Hold on, you know what picture I'm pulling up. You already know what picture I'm pulling up. You already know. Alright, suggest Force Femme. I have a suggestion. I have an idea. But yeah, this also this whole Urayama buying Elise's thing and Elise sneaking into the laboratory, even though this is the first bit of spy business that she's done, makes sense in retrospect because, like, yeah, I wanted people to think, like, she did that a little too easily. I don't know about that one. And then it was revealed, yeah, it was on purpose. That it felt like she did that too easily because she did, because it was all, you know, planned out by Urayama. Actually going in there is a whole level of spyness I'm not sure I'm ready for. Meow, meow, meow. I also like the subtle, like the 2-second ahead foreshadowing where she finds the phrase elemental bird and wonders what that's all about, and then like literally the next paragraph we understand oh, that's what elemental bird comes from. She thought she ate. What does ate mean? Don't you mean cook? She thought she cooked. She thought she was slick with it. But it was all according to Keikaku. All according to Urayama's Keikaku. I was gonna say that the ending, I was gonna say if I could have one more piece of artwork for this episode, it would be of the ending. But I don't know, that's kind of a spoiler, but so maybe I have like Urayama, because he's like going to be a major reoccurring character, and I described what he looks like. He has silver hair, red eyes, and glasses. But like he's, you know, at some point I will, if there's like a chapter focused on him, I will have like a quick commission about that. Because again, I don't need to have this super big, like, thigh up illustration, dual character with a fancy background. I could just have like a bust of like one character for the next episode. Lloyd from Mother 1. Oh boy. Mother 1. I hate you so much. Hate you so goddamn much right now, you have no idea. This guy? This one guy. This fucking guy. This guy? Are you talking about this guy? No. Let me go back. Let me go back to Urayama's description. We'll go back to the text. Dom also messaged me being like, I forgot that Elise had a red dress, because that was before this key art was made. And Dom can't read apparently. So Dom kept forgetting what color Elise's dress was. Between his short silver hair and dark gleam in his ruby covered eyes. So he has short silver hair, a dark gleam in his ruby colored eyes, and sharp glasses. So he's kind of supposed to be, I should have said he was snake-like, because that's kind of like a Japanese thing saying, hey, this character's evil and manipulative, saying that they're like a snake-like. Chaos from Undernight. Hold on. Night. Okay, there we go. There we go. There we go. You got a little better now. You got it. You got it. That's kind of what I'm imagining. Not the fudging. I'm actually. I'm actually. Not that guy. Yeah, this is this guy you talking about? Because, yeah, this is a little closer to what I mean. But, like, you know, more evil. And he has, like, a science coat or whatever. So just imagine him with red. Yeah, I love that guy. Yeah, he's cool. He's cool character design. And, yeah, oh, also another thing I need to bring up is John's name. Where everyone that meets him is like, oh, you go by John Doe now? That's interesting. And, like, that's implied to be a name that, like, he made up on the spot. That will also, and also at the end, actually, it was a little unclear of who they were referring to at the end, where there's like, oh, we found unit. Oh, no, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. You can run and change your name all you want, but you can't hide from your past. Unit 04. That's clearly, like, referring to John, right? That's not, like, a spoiler. Also, did I not add a ending quote for this? Whoops. I can fix that right now. Hold on. I could fix that right now. Hold on. I swear, I spent 2 years editing this. I spent 2 years editing this, I promise. Don't want this to be too long. I have ad blocker on? What the fudge is this? Why is there one ad in the middle of all this? Also, why is the thing all jacked up now? Okay, whatever. Let me just go back and read this and make sure. Or like see if there's anything else that I wanted to say. Yeah, the letter. Dear Elise, don't come looking for me. The OK shape. Yeah, I talked about how, like, yeah, it was kind of intentional that she was doing all this a little too easily. This chapter's a little awkward. I just kind of go by vibes for when I cut off the chapter. And I thought that, like, you know, starting with her invading the laboratory and ending with a plot twist, I thought was a good way to end it. But yeah, there's like 3 different scenes that have this, that have a... Because there's her in the laboratory, which is long, and then there's her rescuing John, and then there's them going to the courtyard and finding Urayama. Again, bastard. John needs to find more things. I also like this line. Because you've been so cooperative until now, I'll let you choose how your parents died. Fighting valiantly against intruders, saving a small child from a fire, it's up to you. I think that's a fun, cold-ass thing for a bad villain to do. Be like, oh, I'll tell you, I'll kill you, but because I'm nice, I'm a nice guy after all, I'll let you choose how I tell your parents how you died. They didn't just die, they were murdered by him. Originally in the last chapter, I had John go way deeper into his backstory, but I cut it because A, this episode is already long enough as is, and B, maybe I wanted to save it for its own like flashback episode where I'll like flesh that out more. So there you go, spoiler for our future things. I don't know if I want these sound effects in here. I feel like, I don't know, reading them they felt cringe. Reading them out loud they felt cringe, but I feel like if you're just reading it in your head, they won't be cringe. Don't know. Yeah. And I also like the catchphrase of the series. The first rule being a spy is deception. Because they don't do a lot of like explicitly spy stuff. So I wanted to make sure that like people got the idea that like, yeah, they are doing spy stuff by just being deceptive and deceiving people. Even if they're not doing like, you know, tactical espionage yet. Yet, keyword. And yeah, they kind of have a repeat of the fight with Rose. Which I'm like, I could have truncated a little bit more, but it's fine. I had shortened it as much as I could. Because it's like, yeah, it's supposed to be the same scene as before, but they are more in sync. And they have a plan laid out. And the bird grew from several stories high. I really tried to, like, get the idea of, like, this is a fucking giant kaiju-ass Godzilla monster that they are now fighting. Like, the castle, it's like a regular castle, or it's, like, several stories tall and, like, towering above the small town that it's in. And, like, the bird is up taller than that castle. I don't know how people didn't immediately come out when that happened. I think that's when people first started, like, waking up and being like, what the fuck's going on outside? But yeah, maybe I could have, like, a side story where I talk, or, like, maybe in a future episode, where I could have some more characters from the castle make an appearance, because the only people that make an appearance is, like, at least the King, Queen, and Urayama. But there's, like, other people referenced, like the crowd of people in the main hall, the medical staff, and then the people who worked with Urayama, and then the chef. And then yeah, John went supersonic, and you can interpret that form however you want. Whatever level on the furry and hot scale you want to go with that. Just this is the description I have. Lift was a dark figure covered in a black fog with eagle wings sprouting from its back. He almost looked like a fallen angel. So like he doesn't have an overcoat or hat or possibly a shirt on at this point. So you can see it. You can interpret that however you want. I will do so with pleasure. I think I'll stay with Cigar Charlotte for the rest of the artwork for this series, assuming they're still willing to do it. But if you want to make fan art or you want to work on other art for this story, just get in contact with me. Easiest way is to DM on Blue Sky or Twitter. I would not be opposed. If people like the story and want to make art about it and want to get me involved in any way about that. Yeah, I got a dark blade and shot a Getsuga Tensho. And then he shot several black laser beams at the bird. I kind of imagine those as like Sero. Like, pew, 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 giant laser beams. I did my best. I can only do so much in I want to get better at fight scenes. Because I really like having fight scenes, but putting fight scenes in text is very difficult. Meow, 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 meow. Like a hurricane approaching a thunderstorm I like. And then, oh yeah, Stark smoke covering his body, all moved to the blade and formed a large head of a pitch black eagle. If you know that one scene from Bleach where Ichigo and Byakuya were like doing their last attack? Yeah, kind of something like that. Again, I have a lot of references, but I have a large breadth of references and implement them in unique ways, so that's the important part, I think. And Elise's death scene is so good. It's okay, you don't have to fight anymore. There, it's okay, I'm so glad you're okay. And then, but still, it didn't change that one undeniable fact. Elise is dead. I was like, if I was gonna make a trailer for this, that's definitely a line that would go in it. Elise is dead. And then her parents, oh my god. Her parents finding out that she's dead. That's crazy. And then the bird bringing her, quote, back to life. But she's still, like, dead. You know? Like a zombie, I guess. Hopefully I explained that well. I feel like that was a little, like, either hit or miss. Of, like... I feel like I explained that well, where it's like, yeah, the bird is, like, keeping them alive, but they're still, like, slowly rotting, so, like, they only have a time limit on, like, how long they can be on their existence. So the series does have a time limit. They got to do it within a year. So, and it's not a coincidence that it started in spring, because that's also a very anime thing. Makes sense, breathed new life, but it's finite. Yes, okay, good. I'm glad you get it. I also like this scene, or I like this line. A minute later, the bird threw its head up in the air and let out a cry that sounded like a melancholic melody. Just then, the bird started to evaporate into a light mist that fell and covered the princess's body as the morning sun started to light up the courtyard. Because they had been going at this, like, all night. Because this is the same day, if you think about it, this is the same day that they fought Rose. Because, like, they fought Rose, and then they immediately, like, made their way to the kingdom before nightfall. And then, like, it started being, like, night as John was getting kidnapped. And then that same night, or as John was getting, like, imprisoned, and then that same night, that, like, this fight happens. And then it finally started, like, sunrise by the end of this scene. I don't know, I like that. It's interesting to think about stuff like that. Also somewhat inspired by Bleach. Because, like, there's like 200 episodes that take place in like a singular day in Bleach. Just an upsetting day overall. Like in Bleach, you know, all the way from like them going to Waco Mundo all the way to the end of that arc is a singular day. Like, that's crazy. But then in chapter 10, like, a few days pass and then another few days pass. Because there's a few days that John was out cold, and then a few days between him getting ready to prepare his speech, and then a few days before they were prepared to leave on their journey. I also like this line. Okay, I'll tell you. But not now. What? The princess stumbled in her seat. You know that thing in anime, like old anime, where like when somebody says something stupid, and then the characters literally like fall down? That's kind of like what I was imagining. And then yeah, this is another thing of like during John's recovery, he learned how the calendar worked. So W87 is the 87th day of winter. And then it was early spring. Yeah, we gotta bring that trope back. That and the like drop of sweat on the character's head. We need to bring that too. We need to bring that back too. Anything that was in like season 1 of Pokemon, we gotta bring back. Because I was thinking of that when I was watching Cardcaptor Sakura, and I'm like, man, watching old anime is cool because like you get to see all these cool things come back, like characters falling out of their chairs and sweat beads and just like visual language that just has fallen out of fashion. Yeah, and again, I cut out a lot of John's backstory here. Because I just kind of wrote it, and I was just like, I'm just going to write it out because I need to write out John's backstory anyway, and then later I cut it down and saved it elsewhere in the document. Oh my god, they were all dead. My mom, my dad, my kid sister, all on the floor by Urayama's feet. People know what he means by kid sister, right? That's usually how anime translates Imoto. Character slides in almost like they didn't move their legs at all, but the animators literally just eased them onto fame with their legs still. Yeah, exactly. Like a... The person the bird fused to had to already be dead. And at least, like, fucking... Are you fucking sure about that? What do you mean, still dead? I'm still here, aren't I? Walking and talking around? And yeah, I'm glad that at least Mara understands how the bird works. I have a year left before I lose brain function. I become a mindless zombie. And then they're like, hey, go out on a journey. I feel like this arc had a really good, like, goals for the ending. That was my main thing. Because with the Full Metal... That's why Full Metal Alchemist's premise is so gripping. Because it's like, okay, you have a clear problem and a clear goal. Like, they're effing dying. And Urayama's evil and needs to be stopped. And there's lots of mysteries and other things to loose ends to end up. So it's like we have a clear, strong goal. Stop Urayama, investigate the birds, don't die again. I like that a lot. This is what getting rezzed in Don't Starve feels like, which is to say bad. I will assume that's a compliment. I want to go too. What? No way. I'm like, yeah, this was kind of a... I'm sure by the beginning of this, where it's like, oh yeah, Elise will find a way to go in because, like, yeah, they're on the cover. They're on the cover of the story. Of course, they're the main characters, and they're gonna go on this journey together. I also like this one. Don't slow me down, yes sir, and I expect you to train hard, yes sir, and stop being annoying, yes sir. Revive, but your max health is cut. Exactly. Okay, you get it, you get it, you get it. And then this, like, in the episode 1, she, like, was talking about how much she loves burgers. And that was a foreshadow to this, where she's like, yeah, this burger, I'm starting to lose my sense of taste, and I can't eat burgers anymore! We gotta save her! I'm a good writer. I don't care what anyone says. I like my writing. And that means I'll always have at least one fan. Also, can we look for my sister while we're out? Also, does this make sense? Are you sure about this? This will be the last time to bail out if you want. Absolutely. Like, absolutely, she is sure about this. Not absolutely she wants to bail out. Does that make sense? I tried to reword that several times, but I couldn't figure out anything. I've never been more sure of anything in my entire life. And then they could feel this fresh spring breeze on their faces as they started their new adventure. Is spring breeze an actual, like, phrase that people use, or was it just a Kirby thing? I think that comes across fine. Okay. We got all my hyper interests all in one story. We got Sonic, Bleach, anime in general. Now we got Kirby with Spring Breeze. But yeah, I think that will be the end. I gotta go cool down and go to sleep. But yeah, next story will come out in less than 2 years. And again, just one more time, giving you your hint. This is your hint. This is your hint of what the next story will be about. This next story is already finished pre-production and has started filming, question mark? I wrote the intro, okay? People say the opposite of what makes sense logically. When people say, ask them if they mind something, so like the language can be flexible as long as the presentation fits. Oh yeah, with the absolutely, yeah. Like, do you mind if yeah, no problem. There's like, do you mind if I sit on your face? And you're like, yeah. You can assume that, yes, I do not mind. Not, yes, I do mind. Whatever, you get the idea. Anyway, that's it for me. Stream next time will be Tuesday. And I already made the thumbnail for it. We're playing Star Fox 64. Yes, I mind. No one's saying that unless they're actually facetious. Fair enough. But yeah, that will be Tuesday's stream. Hopefully I can do all of Star Fox in one stream. And then Thursday's stream will be something, question mark. And then Friday, I think, will be Smash with viewers, because I finally fixed my Smash mods. And then Sunday will be... I still gotta go to the bathroom. Another reason that I gotta end the stream. Oh my gosh, Sun stuff. Other pictures. Have all of my streaming stuff in just one folder called Sun Stuff. Don Season 2. Well, that will be the next Sunday. Sunday is kind of like the event streams, I guess. I don't know. I could find a better time to have event streams of like doing anime discussions or reading, writing. But yeah, Don Season 2, very good. Highly recommend. But yeah, anime discussion will be like, okay, I assumed you already saw the show, so we're just gonna discuss and talk about what happened in the show. That's what anime discussions are. I have a bunch of playlists out if you want. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed Dead Spy Road Trip Episode 2. I'm gonna pass out. Thank you all for watching. I'm very happy that I got, I'm happy that you enjoyed. I'm happy if you read, I'm happy if you watched, I'm happy, I'm very happy. because I know it's not as much views or engagement as I get for like regular streams, but like it means more to me because like, you know, for other streams I'm like talking about like a known anime or a known video game with a known IP series, but this is all original Solaris content. Also, sudden Tevin arrival. I do rewatch season 2 of Dandadan. Just do I rewatch season 2 of Dandadan, or can I just freeball it? I'll summarize it to the best of my abilities, so as long as you remember like the broad strokes. But you could watch a recap, because that's what I did. I watched a recap of Dandadan season 1 on YouTube before I jumped into season 2. Anyway, Tevin, go read Death Spy Road Trip episode 2. It's gotten raving reviews by at least 4 people other than me. Dom, Solar Mom, Step Sibling, and Mara also really enjoyed it. What's your icon, Tevin? Me when I get you? Is that a from Dexter? Whatever. Also check on the Twitch. You doing okay there, Twitch? Okay, Twitch is doing okay. I don't feel like rewatching the whole thing. I mean, it's really good. Only 12 episodes, so I don't know, man. It didn't crop well for some reason, yeah. But yeah, it's also been like a year since it came out, so I feel like you couldn't have forgotten that much in a year. I feel like it'll come back to you pretty well. But if you have, but anyone else who's not Tevin that hasn't seen Dandadan season 2, go watch Dandadan season 2. It's really effing good. It's like a action shonen, but also has a lot of like deep emotional plots and a lot of like slice of life and like romance stuff, but also just has like really crazy effing fight scenes and animation and crazy. It's about like ghosts and aliens and what is that called? What is Uma in English? Cryptids. It's about cryptids and spirits. Cryptids, like, you know, Loch Ness Monster, aliens, stuff like that. The Tsuchinoko, the Snape. What is it? Fudging. What is the Western version of Tsuchinoko? Snipe? Yeah, Snipe Hunt. Snipe Hunt is a type of practical joke or fool's errand existent in North America in the early 1840s, in which an unsuspecting newcomer is duped into trying to catch an elusive animal called a snipe. Although snipe is a real bird, a snipe hunt is the quest for a non-existent creature whose description varies. Yeah, it's basically a Tsuchinoko if you don't know what a Tsuchinoko are. Where it's like, hey, let's go out to hunt Tsuchinokos, and they go out and hunt a monster that doesn't exist. It's basically that. When I heard the snipe hunt for the first time, I'm like, oh, so like a Tsuchinoko. And they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? I think they do also mention Tsuchinoko. Yeah, like at the beginning of season 2, Momo goes to a shrine and to see a alleged Tsuchinoko shed. Not everyone is a weeb. Also, that's a bit of a deep cut of Japanese thing that doesn't, like, Japanese culture that doesn't come up in media a lot. The only time I can think of it that it's come up in anime is Dandadan, and I'm in Love with the Villainess also brought it up. About how, you know, she was in a Tsuchinoko hunting club in college or whatever. Anyway, if you want some Thai fiction Yuri, go read I'm in Love with the Villainess. Don't watch the anime. The anime stopped right before it got to the good part. Mob Psycho had a bit about that too, about the Tsuchinoko. Okay, maybe I'm crazy then. Anyway, I gotta go to the bathroom. I gotta go. I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you all for watching. Next stream will be Tuesday. Yeah, what Mar said. Okay. Next stream will be Tuesday. We'll do Star Fox 64, which is the only Star Fox game. And it will be a Star Fox game that will be higher than 5 frames a second. It'll be fantastic. I think it was a season 1 post-finale fight epilogue scene. I gotta watch season 3 of Mob Psycho 100. And maybe I should just rewatch the whole series, because it's been a while. Anyway, I gotta go. I hope you all enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Like the YouTube video, subscribe on YouTube, follow on Twitch, help support me and do what I do. I mean, I'm gonna do it effing anyway, but if you want me to do it with as little suffering as possible, then support is gladly appreciated. And yeah, support art, support artists. Take care of yourself, be kind to others. Hope you enjoyed the stream. Have a good rest of your times. And remember that the first rule of being a spy is deception. And until next time, stay fresh, cheese bags.